was only one breath, one decision, one shot away, and I would not be here. But I am here today, and I want you to know, like, even through all that, I was still thinking about you.
Hey everyone, welcome to Tracer Burnout. I'm Roger.
And I'm Dan.
We're in studio today. We have a special guest, somebody who reached out a long time ago, and we were able to make it work.
Yeah, he was able to accommodate us with his travel plans.
He was indeed. So, Army veteran TJ Baird.
Well, that's a good way to start. Just laughing directly into the microphone. TJ, how are you? Thanks for joining us.
It's going to be a good one, gentlemen. It's going to be a good one. We're clowns. It is
Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, man. We appreciate you coming all this way.
All right,
You did come a long way to visit us, and we appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's my second home. Fayetteville.
Meaning Fayetteville, not the Tracer Burnout studio.
No, Fayetteville.
It could be. It could be. We'll see how it goes.
All right,
So,
right on.
So we'll start the same way we always do. Does your family have a history of service?
Yes, they do. My grandfather, well, we'll go way in the way back. So my great-grandfather, when they all immigrated in from Italy without passport, right? So then to get U.S. citizenship, he had to serve in World War I. And then my grandfather served in the Pacific War Theater on the USS The Sullivans. And my dad served in the Navy as well. And my uncle served in the Air Force. And now my brother is just getting ready to retire from the Army. And my wife is serving.
That's
I mean,
a lot.
besides that,
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yes.
So is the family history of service, is that what brought you into it?
No. Not at all. No. I didn't know what I wanted to do after high school or in my senior year of high school. In fact, in January of my senior year of high school, the only reason I joined the Army is because a friend of mine was like, hey, I'm going to the recruiters. You want to go with me? I was like, sure, I'll go. And I showed up, and only one guy showed up, actually, this guy.
Oh.
it was a trap.
It was. And so
It's a trap.
Right. Great movie, by the way.
Indeed.
And I joined the Army.
Was the Army your first choice?
Yes.
All right.
It was.
You grew up in a Navy town.
So, yeah, I was a Sea Cadet in the Navy, and I also, not in the Navy, I was a Sea Cadet, and then I went to Orlando when they had boot camp in Orlando during the summer of I want to say my junior year, and I went through 6 weeks of basic training for the Navy, and I was the recruit chief petty officer, so this is a platoon sergeant for the Navy while I was down there, so I got selected for that. That was a lot of fun. But I know I did not want to join the Navy. Nope.
After that 6 weeks,
No,
you
just
become disillusioned?
Well before that. No, no, the Navy's amazing, right? I grew up in a Navy town, Virginia Beach. I just didn't want to. I spent some time on a ship with my dad when we were in Japan on the USS Midway. I threw up a lot, got a little seasick. I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm like, nope, I don't, nope. But oddly enough, later in my career, I did spend 6 months on a ship. Yeah, we'll tell that story later. It's crazy.
So you came in right out of high school?
I did. Mm-hmm. In fact, they wanted me to join, like not join, but come out of high school and go straight into the Army. I was like, hey man, I'll come in after Labor Day because it's the summertime in Virginia Beach, and I'm not gonna miss that.
Yeah.
An 18-year-old young man?
Nope, 17.
Fair enough.
17.
Or 17?
17.
What year was this?
1992.
1992.
Yeah, so September of 92, I went to basic training. And in November, I was in airborne school, and I was the keeper of the wings. I was actually the youngest guy there. So I turned 18 when I was in basic, about 3 days before I graduated. And the only reason I was keeper of the wings is because I was the youngest guy by 5 days.
Nice.
Yeah.
Where'd you go to basic training?
Fort Jackson. I was going to say Camp Jackson, but Fort Jackson. And I only went back one more time, and that was 30 some odd years later to watch a friend of mine, oddly enough, go through basic training as like a 40 some odd year old woman.
Interesting.
Right.
Relaxin' Jackson. A well-earned name.
Yeah, right.
So we've established that you enlisted Army. What drew you to that service in particular, and what was your MOS, at least at the beginning?
Yeah. Again, in particular, a buddy of mine was like, hey, let's just go and talk to the Army recruiter. I was like, okay. So I went and showed up, and I walk in there. And I said, hey, he's like, hey, what do you want to do? I said, hey, man, I'm a pretty smart cat, pretty physically fit. I don't want to be an infantryman. And I was like, I don't want to do that. But I do want to do something that can combine my physical attributes and my mental acumen. And he's like, oh, we can make you a Spanish linguist in the Army. You can jump out of airplanes. I was like, I'm afraid of heights, but sounds pretty neat. I don't think my mom's going to like that. And she didn't because she had to sign. But she was the first one to sign, so thank God for that. And so I was a 98 Gulf at the time, Spanish linguist, which eventually turned into a 35 Papa as they shifted over the MOSs to a new code. Yeah, so joined the Army and went to airborne school in November '92, and yeah, that took everything I had to go out of the 34-foot tower. It took every fiber of my being to step off that dang thing. It was crazy.
It's just gravity.
Just gravity.
Yeah, like I love climbing things. I just hate looking down. It's terrible.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
So, did you already have a familiarization with Spanish at all?
No, I took Latin. Well, kind of. I took Latin in high school. So from
It's a start.
Yeah. So obviously the speaking part is obviously a lot different, but the vocabulary is very similar. The grammar is very similar. So that actually I thought grammar wise was actually easier for Spanish since I had a pretty good background in that. My challenge was I kept writing in Latin. I just kept conjugating in Latin, and Latin has a lot more grammatical rules to it.
Yeah.
A lot more. But that's how I'd write. And then my teacher was like, hey, this is not Spanish. I was like, oh yeah, it's Latin. So I had to refocus and reteach myself to stop thinking in Latin and try to get it and think more in Spanish. It was crazy.
I don't want to get too far ahead of you. You went to airborne school straight from basic?
I did.
So you did AIT after airborne?
I did. Yeah. Okay. So it was crazy. I went. So in in basic, I weighed 220 pounds now. I was 165 pounds coming out of high school. I was a skinny dude, in shape, fit, but just not upper body wise. So I actually had to go back a second time to do my PT test. So I passed all the requirements to get through basic training, but not enough to get to the airborne requirement, which is 60 in each event. I was like at 55 for the push-ups. Everything else I almost maxed. So I went back and I was like, I remember the drill sergeant, and I got to give this guy a lot of credit. He's like, well, why aren't you doing well in push-ups? So I showed him the style of push-ups I was doing. He's like, you're going too slow, man. That's the problem. You're wearing, like, you got to knock them out as fast as you can. He said, you may miss a couple of them, but you won't have your lactic acid build up so much you're not going to be able to do as many as you want. So he put me at the back of the line, went back and did it again. I went from whatever it was. I actually scored an 80%. Just on that alone, I'm like, oh man, that's someone had told me that earlier.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't count a couple of them, which is fine. And then from there, I went to what after that, like a week later, boom, we're in graduated, and then we were in airborne school. Which let me tell you, at 5 o'clock or whatever we were done for the day, you're in the barracks and everything else like that. Everybody just left. We're like, what are we doing? Like I just came out, like I had no clothes except for like was on my back from coming into the Army. Like, what do we do on the weekend? We do whatever you want, dude. You're a grown adult. I don't know what to do.
Freedom. What do I do with my hands?
Yeah, I was like, what do I do?
I know on the weeknights at airborne school, and I was, I think, 19, 20 years old when I went through. I went in the summer. I was so exhausted at the end of the day. The thought of going out and doing something fun was the last thing on my mind.
Oh yeah, I just went and ate. I ate a lot.
Yeah,
I love eating.
A lot of food.
I love eating. It's a hobby. It still is.
It's a passion.
Yeah,
I can appreciate that.
So here's what's a cool thing, and I will say I was lucky through my career, especially having good leaders to help me out. You get the keeper of the wings. They give you a subdued, at least at the time it was a subdued airborne badge, and the first sergeant's like, hey, by tomorrow it has to be shiny. It has to be shiny. I was like, I wouldn't even know how to, like, okay. And I don't have any money. So I got back, our chalk leader, our stick leader, was a E6, I think, E5, E6. And they all went out, they bought steel wool, they bought Brasso, they bought all these different things without me even knowing. They came back and said, okay, we're going to get this thing done. And so as a collective, as a team, we just scrubbed it. We took paper clips and chipped away at all the stuff on all the enamel on the inside. And it was shining by the time that night was done. I was like, oh my God, no way I would have done it. So you just imagine a just turned 18-year-old private I get called up to the first sergeant. I come running up, roster number, blah, blah, blah. He's like, let me see him. So we had the old BDU, so you had that. You couldn't display them, but they were underneath the flap.
It's pinned underneath
the flap, right? So I showed him like this. He's like, oh my God, those are shiny. He's like, turn around. And okay, here's no. It was the officer. He's like, all right, these are the. He's like, kind of like ripping into the company. Has everybody going to half right face like, these are the shiniest wings I've ever seen in my life. We're gonna pay for these. So he has everybody in the front line arrest. They're all doing push-ups, and I'm just standing there with a grin on my like. That's right, suckers.
Yeah. It's a privilege. So you make it out the tower.
Yeah.
You make it to actual jump week, which is the third week at airborne school. How was that?
It was awesome. We had the C-141s at the time. So,
oh man,
right, which
you're
I was
dating yourself.
Right. Yeah, I'm totally dating myself, which I was actually happy about because that was my first aircraft. You don't have to jump out; you just walk out and away you go. So I was the stick pusher initially. So I'm going. I get to the end. Red light comes on. He's like, stop. I'm like, oh, man. Now I'm the first dude. Boo. So I'm just sitting there.
Different.
Right. I'm just sitting there like, what the heck? Okay, so you're watching everything. You just kind of stand there and get ready to go. And then out the door I went. My second jump was out of a C-130, and I was the first person again. I don't know why I think they were laughing at me, but I just remember you put your hands out on the side. You had to go up 6, out 36, up 6 inches, out 36 inches to clear the airframe because they didn't have the air deflector.
The deflector, yeah.
But I mean, you could hear people bounce. If you're in that aircraft, you can hear them hit. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. So I'm sitting there. I've got my hands on the outside, and I have like this massive death grip. And I just remember the jump master just lean in behind me and goes, "Hey there, paratrooper. When you jump out this aircraft, leave some of that skin there with you because you look like you got a pretty good death grip." But I just looked down at my hands. I was just white knuckles. Like,
white knuckles, yeah.
I'm like, okay. Yeah, it was awesome. I loved it. I really enjoyed and I remember calling my mom and just saying, "Oh, Mom." I was like, I'm just going to tease my mom a bit. "I'm in the hospital. I broke my leg." And she just broke down crying and freaking out. I was like,
My baby.
I was like, that didn't go the way I wanted to. I was like, "Mom, I'm just fine. I'm going to drive down there. I'm going to kick you."
Oh, so you're coming to graduation. That's good news.
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, I really enjoyed my time. And I didn't do much. We just hung out.
So you go to AIT after airborne.
Yeah, so language school first, then AIT.
Right, okay. So
Yeah.
tell everybody about language. I'm assuming you went to...
Defense Language Institute.
So you went to the nice West Coast, okay.
Uh,
Presumably.
Yeah, so Monterey was, it's considered a resort city kind of thing,
Yeah.
but I grew up in Virginia Beach, so I don't know what they thought was resort city compared to what I thought was a resort city. Two different things. Monterey is more quiet.
Yes.
Much more quiet. It's an older population. And it's
It's up
very
there in wine country, man.
yeah. Well, when you're 18 years old, you don't realize that. Like, so DLI was good. I learned Spanish in 6 months, which I think they do it in a year now, which I think is much better. But you produce a better product, a person who knows the language. And this is where I really learned, like, you got to focus. So I think, like a lot of us, we just joined. I didn't want to go to college. I wasn't ready to continue on schooling. I mean, I'm a fairly smart individual. I was like, at the time, I was like, I'm done. This is enough schooling for me. But then when you go to learn a language you don't know, and if you fail, you're needs of the Army. I was like, well, that is totally not going to happen.
It's an incentive.
Right, because I didn't want to be an infantryman.
Taking a lot of shots.
No, it's good.
Just like an infantryman.
Right. And I didn't want to do that. It's like, okay, let me just buckle down. And then so I went through and I graduated, and it was neat. I learned to bike a little bit more. That was a lot of fun. I started running a lot more. I hated running when I was a kid. That's why I was a goalie. And when I ran track, it was high jumping and pole vaulting. But then I started running. I'm like, I'm actually not too bad at doing this. So it was a lot of fun. Like, hey, you want to run in the 10-miler team or whatever? I was like, no, that's way too far. Like 2 or 3 miles is good enough for this guy. 10 miles too much.
10's a lot.
Yeah, but DLI was good. There was a reserve. Yeah, I think it was the 19th or 20th group. SF guy learning Spanish, so that was pretty cool. So he just skydiving. So he took us and like a couple other guys He took us to the gym a lot. That was awesome. It kind of got me getting into the gym. And then when he goes skydiving, he would just take us up to San Francisco with him, and we go watch him skydive. He'd take us because we were just kind of trapped on DLI. It was 18 years old, no car, no whatever.
money.
Yeah, and it's very small.
Oh yeah, it's tiny.
It is a tiny
Yeah.
post, I guess. If you
Yeah.
wanna call it that.
Yeah. And so he was really cool. Kind of took us a few of us under his wing and got us out to do the different things. So I thought that was really neat. And then we had a Navy captain, so at 06, right, colonel equivalent, in my class. He was a former Blue Angels guy, Blue Angels
cool.
lead pilot. So he's talking about all these different things. Everybody's introducing themselves. He's like, oh yeah, he was like, I was in Japan. I was doing this. And I was like, oh, it's the same year as my dad was in Japan. And then we were at BS, and I go talk about my last name as we go through there. And he comes up to me, he's like, hey, is your dad named Jim, like Jim Baird? I was like, yes.
Yes.
Do you know my dad? And he's like, I was your dad's XO on the Midway. I'm like, holy cow. So then when he would go down to San Diego to visit, his girlfriend at the time was down there. And so he would take me down there because I had family down there. I was like, man, this is really cool. So again, I get lucky just to meet these different people.
Yeah.
And help, just like, hey, just take this young cat who's just sitting around doing nothing, I guess. And so I got to get down to San Diego a few times to see my aunt and uncle and my cousins. That was really cool. And then he let me, we're both about the same height, same build, so he let me borrow his wetsuit and everything like that, and fins and everything, snorkel. And I would go snorkel in the bay down there by the Tinnery.
Cool.
And let me tell you,
That's a shark habitat.
it sure is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had a knife, had all the other stuff with me, and then a lot of kelp. You had to be careful with the kelp beds. But the Pacific Ocean, much different than the Atlantic. Way colder.
Yeah.
I was like, why are these people in wetsuits? Why don't they just jump in the water? So I jumped in the water. I'm like, oh, let me go get the wetsuit on.
Yes.
What was the attrition rate for your class at DLI?
That's a great question. It wasn't that bad. I don't remember it being that bad. I remember my roommate not making it. So we went to basic training with a group of individuals, and we all went through basic, DLI, Defense Language Institute, AIT, and then the Fort Bragg. So there was probably a group of like 7 or 8 of us that traveled together, and then we got to DLI. Then the pack grew a little bit bigger, and then so one of the guys from my basic training class was the DLI. He didn't make it, but he became a. What I realized is it wasn't really needs of the Army if you don't make it, because they're like, yeah, they spend all this money on you to do X, Y, and Z for security clearances, everything else. Like, we're not going to waste all this money that we just spend on you as an individual. We're just going to reclassify you as a different MOS inside the intelligence field. Mm-hmm. Although one of the guys didn't make it either. He became a 12 Bravo.
Sapper.
Engineer. Yeah. So he became a combat engineer. I don't know what happened to him afterwards, but I heard it was pretty successful. That was pretty awesome. But yeah, so I remember like in my class, in my specific class, I think we had like 2 or 3 that did not graduate with us. Yeah.
So 6 months at DLI, and then where?
Yeah. Goodfellow Air Force Base. Yeah. So I went. So it's in San Angelo, and they had 2. They didn't have enough barrack space, so I actually went TDY to San Angelo and lived in the Angelo Inn. And even though here's what's crazy. Even though the Angelo Inn, so yeah, I get paid TDY, you get X amount of cash, you get the whole thing at the very beginning. You just take all that pile of money over and just drop it off at the Angelo Inn to pay for your month stay. But you still get per diem, which was good because you're doing either you're going to school in the morning, or if you had the night shift and you do school at night. So it was very interesting. But I do remember our drill sergeant would come in, even though the Angelo Inn cleans your room. You still had to clean your room. In fact,
The maids loved that, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, so they would come in even at night, even if you're on the night shift. Like you'd have to have a nice clean room. So I was like,
that's funny.
This is interesting. Yeah, and then a little bit more freedom, I guess, which in San Angelo, obviously there's a little bit more to do. San Angelo back then is not the San Angelo it is today. That base, even Goodfellow, is grown up a lot. I went back in my last job to visit them down there and talk with them, and then speak at a couple of graduations. Yeah, so Goodfellow Air Force Base. Oh, here's the great part. So I was going to go to Panama. I was one of 2 people that had orders to Panama, because when Panama was open at the time. And I was excited. I'm like, I've learned my language. I'm going to use it. I'm going to be down in a country that's just I was just bam, all Spanish all the time. I'm super excited. I get to Goodfellow. We're all sitting in the room. Like, hey, who's airborne qualified? Everybody raises their hand. Like, hey, you're all going to Fort Bragg.
I know where that's going. Yep.
Right. I, years later, should realize I probably shouldn't have said anything. I'm like, well, hey, drill sergeant, I have orders to Panama. Is it right here? Yay, I'm going to Panama. And drill sergeant walks up, was like, oh, let me see those. Oh, man, that's pretty awesome, Private Baird. Rips it up in front of me. I'm like, bro, what? It hands me as my new orders. Like, you're going to Fort Bragg. I'm like, thanks.
Did they give you a reason for that?
Airborne qualified. So for at the time, Fort Bragg, one as a critical MOS for us for Spanish at the time, right? Or just as a linguist in general. But Fort Bragg was critically low on Spanish linguists. And so we all just shifted over to Fort Bragg, North Carolina.
Center of the universe.
That whole group?
Yes.
That whole group of you guys?
Yep. And the ones that volunteer, and then they asked for volunteers who wanted to go to airborne school. So we had some folks that didn't have it in their contract but still wanted to go. So right then and there, they raised their hand. And so when we graduated, so not only did I go to Goodfellow Air Force Base, but after graduation, we went to a follow-on 6-week course in Fort Huachuca, Arizona, for all the equipment and the technical skills that we needed specifically for where we were going in the tactical units. And so we did that. That was awesome. And
What kind of equipment?
It was our, I don't know what the Turkey 32s. It's just the trucks and everything that we were using, and the systems that we were going to use while we were in the 82nd. And I thought that,
signals intelligence type equipment.
It was. And then they had one that was a tracked vehicle called the Trailblazer. And so we got to learn how to drive a tracked vehicle, which was kind of neat. And it was a massive system. Now, we didn't have any of those at in the 82nd. It was too massive. It was I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't know that one.
Oh yeah, you could look it up online. I mean, we literally had to learn how to use I don't say the joysticks, but
it's like bumper cars,
the
right?
rotators.
And then so we learned how to drive a tracked vehicle. Yeah, it was really neat. And then for the 6 weeks we were there, at that point my PT score was high enough to have we didn't have to go to do PT every day with everybody. So during that, we still go to the gym and everything else like that. So a group of us would just go do everything on our own, which was kind of nice.
Yeah,
there was a little bit of freedom there, and then after that, whoever did not go to airborne school prior to that, then they went in January because we had the Christmas holidays and Exodus and everything else, and they went in January. They just met us later on at Fort Bragg.
So when you got to Bragg when?
December '93 is when I got there. So January '94 because they just immediately put us on Christmas.
So you'd been enlisted for pretty much a year already.
Yeah, 18 months.
Yeah, 18 months.
it's a lot of training.
That's a lot of training to learn Spanish.
And then your AIT, right? And your skill set, the follow-on training. Yeah, it was crazy. I was I think I got pinned to E4, right? Maybe a few months after we got to. I was in E3 when I got to Fort Bragg, my first duty assignment. Yeah, crazy.
And now you're actually at your first duty station. No, not in any training or school environment or anything like that, but you're at your first duty station.
Yep.
Where were you assigned?
The 313th Military Intelligence Battalion. So it's deactivated now. In 2004 timeframe it was deactivated, and I want to say by mid-May they're going to reactivate it. Yep. So they after they obviously transformations years ago, but they're going to retransform the MI Corps. I think they're going to be reactivating the 313th in middle of May.
Wow.
Yep. Kind of nice.
Very cool.
How was integration into your first real unit?
It was good. It was it was actually pretty good. So get there, and again, there was a whole bunch of new folks just flood this platoon, and most of us were all in the same platoon. I think everybody, all except for maybe one or two, went to a different company. Mm-hmm. And I think only one went to the aviation unit, but it was pretty good. Welcome with open arms. It was neat. I remember our first road march, all these different things, right? So you get ready to they welcomed you pretty well. They actually had a really good plan for us to everything from getting us not reintegrated, but into the PT cycle and then into the training cycle and everything else like that. Very focused on our language because that is our weapon system. That's one of the things that we had to learn to tell people is, hey, all those other things. Our weapon systems, our technical capability, outside of just the normal tactical stuff that you have to know and learn while you're in the 82nd. But you want us to do something, we have to be able to be proficient in that, in our technical capabilities and our linguistic capabilities. So that was a hard fight the whole time you're in the 82nd, because people didn't really truly understand that.
Right.
But they really
Joe's a Joe, right?
Yeah. But our battalion was really good. Like I said, I was blessed with some really good leaders while I was there, so I was very excited about that. Yeah.
Okay, so you're jumping regularly, you're doing all the cool tactical stuff, and you're
Yeah.
maintaining all your technical proficiencies within your job field. What's the first training exercise that you participate in? We'll say a major training exercise. Do you go overseas? Is it some kind of airborne infiltration? Like what's this looking like?
Oh no! So it was actually Haiti in September in 1994.
That's kind of what I figured. That's what I was.
Yeah. So we had some guys in Alpha Company.
Yep.
We're on the planes going down to Haiti. Then another group of us were actually in a skiff. Doing work to support that mission, and that was actually pretty cool. Like, all right, it's
real.
Yeah, and what we were doing and how we were helping the mission. Everything's live. You're in contact with the folks that are dealing with the birds as they're flying down, and they're calling all the time. Hey, what's this? What's this? Like, no, here's what we're hearing. Here's what we're not hearing. Here's this. And we had obviously very specific things. If something specific words, whatever they would, or things were activated, they were top of the list notifications. That never happened, so that was good. So that was my really big first kind of
Toss in the deep end.
mission, and I really enjoyed that. And we had Purple Dragon. I think it's Scarlet, maybe Scarlet Dragon out for the 18th Airborne Corps, but the Purple Dragon is like the multinational exercises were neat. So I don't know if anybody's jumped in a multinational exercise on Fort Bragg, but almost every drop zone was used. I just remember Sicily drop zone. We had 26 gun package and I think we had C-141s, right? So they're loaded to the gill with paratroopers, and then we had the heavy drops first, so they dropped theirs, and you're jumping on top. And I just remember on this one, they're like, hey, everybody leaves the aircraft. Everybody is leaving this aircraft like in one pass. Like, okay. And fortunately for us,
So if you're the last guy, you're sweating.
Oh yeah, I mean, who hasn't landed south of Longstreet before? And if
Yep.
for everybody here who's at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, you know what that means. Like
That last guy's sweating in the back.
Yeah,
Like, go.
And I remember landing south of Longstreet before. I'm like, well, this sucks.
Yeah.
And a non-steerable parachute, like this really.
You were jumping
sucks.
T10s.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, crash 10.
Oh yeah. It was great. So that was my first opportunity, and then we had one when there was a Cuban dissidents. I don't know if they were brought to Panama, if they were in Panama. I can't remember, so long ago. But there were some Cuban dissidents, and they were in Panama in a detention center, and so they asked for a Spanish linguist to go down. Here's a life lesson. All right, I'm sure everyone, probably don't know if it's happened to everybody, but I was dating at the time, and I said, hey, it was all volunteer to go down there for the platoon. Like, hey, who wants to go? Da, da, da. We have like so many slots. We have X amount of Spanish language who wants to go. I really wanted to go, and my girlfriend at the time was like, I don't want you to go down there. It's dangerous. I was like, so I didn't go. That's the last time I made that decision ever in my career. And so the guys get back, like, oh man, we did this, and this. It was awesome. We did be able to do our language. We were at went to jungle school. We jumped in there. We did this. I was like, all these great things that I still always wanted to do, and I'm just thinking to myself,
Sounds fun.
that will never happen again. So I reached out to my girlfriend and said, let me tell you what's going to happen. That will never happen again. Ever happen again.
How long was your original enlistment?
It was 4 years, and I spent almost 33 years in the Army, and as I tell people, it was a failed 4-year program.
So what led you to re-enlist that first time?
So hurricane hit North Carolina in middle of the 90s. I can't remember which the name, but
I probably
Andrew?
could.
Yes.
It probably was Andrew.
And it tore through this area.
Mm-hmm. Sure did.
And, what do they do with soldiers? They bring them out into the community, help clean up, and then to ensure that looters weren't going everywhere. You were out there doing guard duty and everything else. and we're in the back of some, I'm going to say old lady's house. She's probably my age now, right? My age as I am now, right? But
The definition of old, it keeps changing.
right, sure does, right? The 20 is the new 50 is the new 20, whatever, right? So, she came out with beer at first. I was like, we can't. We're in uniform. Like, that can't be us. And da-da-da. So she comes out with iced tea, and she thanked us. She's like, hey, I know you're forced to be out here and everything else like that. And I just want to say thank you for everything you all are doing, and really appreciate what you do for me and for her and for the community. And then right then and there, I just remembered what my grandfather told me. My grandfather didn't talk too much about his time in the Pacific War Theater. And when he did, he just, as I was leaving, I just remember this. What he told me is, just remember this: not self, but others. And as a 17-year-old kid, you don't really know the depth and meaning of it. You kind of understand, right? Help other people and everything else, but you don't really get it.
Yeah.
Until you're in that situation or a bunch of situations, and I literally just thought of that when she said that, and it resonated so much with me. I was like, I'm re-enlisting. And then I initially came in just like a lot of folks did. I was going to go in for 4 years, get my college money, go out and make something of myself. And right then and there, I was like, okay, this is it. This is about service. It's about all these different things. And then I like to say my maturity level went up a little bit.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Right then and there,
it's amazing. Like all this advice that you're given as a young man, as a teenager, and you just let it like roll off, and you roll your eyes and just like whatever, and then one day it just clicks, and you're like, I've been doing it wrong for so long.
But all those wise words are all rattling around in your brain, and you can eventually make some sense of it at the right time.
Yeah, the halo moment.
That's right.
And it hit, and so I went back the next day. I said I want to re-enlist, and so I got that back in the 90s. There wasn't much. It was Army transformation was going on. They were doing this.
This would have been right after the RIF.
Yeah,
maybe even partly during
it, because they were still down, so there was still a lot going on.
Sure, the reduction in force.
Yep, and I re-enlisted not because there was no bonuses, but I got 6 months a semester at Fayetteville State. And
FSU.
That was I had a blast. I'll tell you what, I love that campus. It was so much fun. It was amazing. I had some really great teachers. I took some fun courses. And every now and then you had to do a jump, right? So and then my first sergeant was really good. Our platoon sergeant was really good as well. It's like, hey, look, you'll still do staff duty, but on like a Saturday, like Saturday or Friday night to Saturday, or Saturday into Sunday, whatever it is. So and then they're like, hey, we're not going to let you do on Sunday night because you got to go to school on Monday. So I still had to pay the man, right, to do my job. And then when I had to do a jump, because you still had to stay jump qualified and everything else, so I would do that. And I would just let my instructors know, like, hey, I'm doing X, Y, and Z, and I just either had to do my homework early or just do it when I got to the next class.
So you re-enlisted in 96?
Ish, yeah. Yeah.
For how long this time?
I want to say 4 years, maybe it was 6 years. You're asking questions for like almost 30 years.
Well, I keep telling myself the 90s. I keep telling myself the 90s are the previous decade, so they're only 10 years ago.
Yeah,
right.
That's the way it
feels.
feels.
So I want to say it was close. It might have been 6 years, and I re-enlisted to go to third group at the time. Yeah.
Now third group had just been stood up at that point.
They did.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I was thinking about
why.
That. Oh, you know what? Let me take it back. No. I'm sorry. That was it was only 4 years, because I re-enlisted again before I left the 82nd. So I did. It was it was stabilization.
Stabilization, and then 6 months of college at Fayetteville State.
Fayetteville State.
Do you remember what classes you took?
I took a logic class in critical thinking. That was a lot of fun. That was awesome. A math class, the ubiquitous college algebra.
Math 000.
Right. And then English, even though I had clept out of English, they hadn't come back yet, so I'll just take English, not a big deal. Took Spanish, as you do. I took a 400 level Spanish class. And what else did I take? I can't remember what else I took.
But it was one semester, so...
Yeah. It was, I took 12 credit hours. I mean, it was...
Yeah.
So
it's probably that's four classes, most likely.
It was a lot of fun. The critical thinking class was pretty amazing. I actually really enjoyed that. I still use it today. For debating and logical and illogical statements. It was, oh yeah. So when you're in a bunch of arguments and everything else like that, especially in negotiations, like,
Yeah.
I know what they're trying to do. So yeah, it was good. And then I tried out for the volleyball team. I wanted to try out for the volleyball team, but I did not work out well. So I was I wouldn't say for them, but I was starting to play a lot more, starting to learn a lot more, and I went to go try out. So I went down there, asked the coach if I could play. And
This is for Fayetteville State or
Fayetteville State.
Okay, just checking.
Yeah, long years ago. He just looked at me. He's like, "With those chicken legs, we don't need you on the team." I was like, "Okay." So
Thanks.
right. Well,
I appreciate your honesty.
right. Well, here's what's funny. So what he didn't know is I had over a 36-inch vertical. So you can imagine at 6'4", you can hit a volleyball straight down at around 10.5 to 11 feet.
I would think that would be an advantage over
A lot of people.
anything
Well, he didn't know
else.
that. He just saw TJ as TJ. And so I was like, okay. So I walk over. I say, hey, man, check this out. And I jump up, touch the top of the antenna, which sits well above the net. So I just did a one step jump, touched the top. I said, I would have loved to have played for you. I turned around and started to walk away. He's like, oh, no, you can come play with us. I said, no, dude, you just took a look at me and didn't even know what my skills are. You just, from what you saw, I didn't think I was able to do it. And I said, no, I'm not going to play for you. And I just turned around and walked away.
pass.
Yeah. And again, another life lesson learned, right? It just and that helps me remember different things too later on in life. Like, hey, you always hear that don't judge a book by its cover. I mean, right? Understand your instincts. You go with your gut feeling on a lot of different things, and that's okay, right? Especially in dangerous situations. But for that, I mean, at least
Yeah.
at least let me prove it.
Yeah, the discernment is understanding when to apply.
Yes.
Don't judge a book by its cover, and when to,
Go with your gut.
use some common sense.
Yeah.
So that's that discernment. Yeah.
Yeah. It was crazy.
So you re-upped for third group.
I did.
Now
And
seventh group was here
they were. So my neighbor across the street was a 7th group medic. Great dude.
as a Spanish speaker. Why third group?
Because at the time they did have Spanish speakers, and they
Okay.
were focused on the Caribbean.
Okay.
And we in the 82nd before that, you had asked about the Navy and everything else like that. So I actually deployed down into South America quite a bit when I was in the 82nd. I actually had a number of deployments underneath my belt from my time in Panama, Leticia, Colombia, as a quick reaction force team leader for an Air Force radar site. That was really cool.
Cool.
Det 7, I think. I think it was Det 7. Either Det 3, Det 7. I think it's Det 7. And then I spent 6 months on a U.S. Navy ship doing counter narcotics. So I crossed the Panama Canal twice, and I'm a shellback for the Navy.
There
Went
you
through
go.
the whole thing. It was really cool.
Yeah.
I got more sea time than a lot of Navy intelligence professionals. It's crazy. Yeah, it was fun being on that ship.
Doing all these these smaller missions and everything, is that kind of what piqued your interest in going to SF group?
It did, because the mission that we went down to in Leticia was Operation Laser Strike, and it was a 7th group mission, and they were focused on other things, and so they asked the 2nd to pick up the mission, and we did. And so a buddy of mine did the first 6 weeks. We got extended for 10 weeks while I was down there. And then another group came down afterwards after us. And stuff like that made me want to do. And I always wanted to do something different, wanted to push myself. And I want to say I was a platoon sergeant at the time when I re-enlisted, and I just wanted to do something different.
Operation Laser Strike. Mm-hmm. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so it was
There's a lot of things that happened in the 90s that people forget about because they were over very quickly.
Yeah.
Or they were done on a small scale.
Yeah.
So what can you tell us about that?
So they had an Air Force radar site in the middle of Leticia, in Leticia, Colombia. If you've ever been to Leticia, Colombia in the 90s, you can only get there. You can get there by vehicle.
I assume it's very high
What's that?
elevation.
It was in the Amazon basin. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
But you had to fly down there to the airfield because driving down there was all dirt roads and stuff like that. So that was pretty cool. So we're literally in this tiny camp, and right next to us was our counterparts with the Colombian Army. They were really awesome. And then surrounding that was barbed wire at I think 50 meters out. Then another 150 meters out was another concertina wire fence and everything else like that. And our job was to ensure that we protected the radar site. and working with the Colombian nationals there. And so you have this encampment with the two of us, and then you're just in the middle of FARC country, like no stuffing, in the middle of FARC country. And so, as a job as a Spanish linguist and what I did for signals intelligence, obviously tracking all that stuff. A crazy story. One night, I'm on shift, and we get an alert. And we've done a lot of training. We updated a lot of different things, which is really good. There was we had people in our wire, and our agreement was with the host country, with Colombia, is anything inside that 50-meter area, that's a free fire zone. So then between the 50 meters and 150 meters was just kind of a warning and everything else like that. So I just remember my buddy Ben and I get out on the perimeter. Everybody else gets into the bunkers, and then our other teammate Heather was in the TOC area, I guess, in the Tactical Operations Center. And they had one thermal video, one thermal imagery. And the 90s thermal imaging was just like you see a blob.
Yeah.
And then you had the 7 deltas, which
I remember the 7 deltas.
Right. You can still see all the hexes and everything inside there, and it really you could just see kind of a human shape, kind of, right? I mean, you could still see people, not like it is today, right?
Right.
So we're tracking. We see 4 people, excuse me, out there. We're like, oh, okay. So we're tracking them. We're walking around with them, and then but just matching. And then we had everybody in the bunkers, and obviously they're calling out what they're seeing. And then so the base commander says, "Hey, let me shoot some illumination rounds, whatever it is." So the Air Force guys are popping rounds out over there, over top, and trying to see who's who in the zoo out there. And it's like, hey, we got eyes on, we can see them much clearer, 4 individuals, and kind of laying them out, who they are, where they're going. They're getting closer and closer to our perimeter. And so the base commander's like, okay, hey, I need you guys to light them up. Okay. I was like, Ben, load an HEDP round, high explosive dual penetrated round. And he's very accurate with the 203. Very accurate. So he loads it in. He's like, hey, man, can we just double check what they... So I was like, hey, we have one HEDP round loaded, ready to fire. And that base commander was like, no, we're just shooting an illumination round. I was like, okay, we gotta work on our terminology.
Yeah.
Right? We gotta work on our terminology.
So I have a similar story, extremely brief, but yeah, when I was in Afghanistan, I learned that get him could mean 2 very different things. Yes.
Yes.
No, I meant go get him. Well, it's a little late for that.
Yes. Yeah. So he pops in the illumination round. He thumps it, and I told him, say, hey man, have it pop right over top of him, because the other ones we need to see them. He's like, you want me to pop it like how far? Like I'm right over him. And like I said, he's very accurate. So he fires it off, high angle, it comes right in, pops right over top of him. So and then we see him clearly. I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. So I was like, Ben. He's like, is that who I think it is? I'm like, it sure is. So I said, hey, just stay here. Don't say anything. So I go back to the base commander. Like, hey, sir, it's one of ours with 3 Colombian women.
Of course.
And he's like, what is? Like, it's one of ours with 3 Colombian women. I said, so he's like, what? He just stared at me. I say, sir, we can just make it easy. We'll just go out and get them. We'll shoo the others away. And then we'll just say it's part of an exercise. And then y'all do with them what you want to do with them later. And he's like, okay, we can do that. So that's what we did. And which is good, right? I mean, and he was the guy that was out there was the head of the security forces, right? So right, so it just gets even worse. So he leaves a few days later, which is fine. But then we sit down for the AAR. And the big reveal is, as we're going through the AAR, like, hey, all these changes that we made are working, they're doing well, we'll make a couple of tweaks to a couple of things. And then near the end, I said, hey, sir, we got to work on our terminology. He said, what do you mean? I said, would you tell an Army guy to light something up? We're just going to shoot it. It's going to disappear. This is it doesn't matter who you are. We are going to take care of business. If you want us to illuminate something, that is what you need to tell us. And he's like, really? I was like, yes, because we would have had an international incident.
Yeah.
And so I thank my buddy Ben for like, hey man, because he, we talked about earlier, he got instinct. He was like, let me just double check, because we got an Air Force and Army vernacular. They don't always match up. And this is my first time in a joint environment.
Yeah, sure.
So I again, way to go, Ben. And really excited.
Good call.
Yeah, good call. Great job, Ben. So we did. He's like, okay. So then we made cards for everybody. Okay, if this means this, because again, it's just in the '90s, and I get that it wasn't so much there wasn't really much jointed, at least in my experience, my experience in my 6 or 7 years in the Army. But yeah, it was good, and then that's what we did for 10 weeks is go to this camp. It was a lot of fun. Got some time to go down to Leticia. Got some time to go into the Amazon basin on some trips. That was so again really neat.
Did you go fishing?
No. Just there's canoeing out there. I was in Ecuador for a while at a language school for 8 weeks, something like 6, 8 weeks, and then so there at Peru. Got to see Machu Picchu. Again, Panama did a few things, and then the.
What was the FARC threat toward U.S. forces while you were there?
And who is the FARC?
Well, yeah, that's
the Fuerzas Armadas Revolucionarias de Colombia, or Colombianos. Yeah, that's my crazy Spanish coming out here. But the FARC is a narco traffickers and insurgents as well, right? The threat then was we were in their area. That was the threat. And then they had the Air Force radar site. So Leticia sits at the border of Colombia and Brazil. And so it was interesting, right? You couldn't cross into Brazil. But yeah, you could see it. You could see the border right there in the middle of the street. It was kind of neat. But since we were in the middle of it, like dead smack in the middle of FARC country, because they were obviously big on the war on drugs, where the stuff was being made and where it was getting distributed through Colombia, potentially out into Brazil and into the Caribbean, and then Colombia and ports beyond out into the Pacific or further north into the United States. So we were in that area where the production facilities were and helping the teams out there trying to find them. And then at the same time guarding the Air Force radar site. So it was pretty neat. It was I enjoyed it because it was actually like my first, outside of the one we did in 1994 with I did the car narcotics too. But I mean like on the ground kind of stuff. The stuff on the ship was 6 months. That was really cool. Bringing an F-15 over top of a ship or scaring off one of the planes and listening to a boarding party, like literally listening to a boarding party board a ship while they're like miles away from you. You don't even see it, but you can listen to all of it happening. And then when they broke through the door of the captain of the ship's captain, and then all of a sudden everything just shut off. You're like, oh, I must have gotten the guy. So
success.
Yeah, it was really neat. I really enjoyed all that time, and then and that was joint. And then being able to, and then getting all that flavor, and then some buddies of mine had already shifted over to 3rd and 7th group, because again, 3rd group was big in the Caribbean and everything else. They were saying, hey, you got to come over here and do X, Y, Z, because this is what we do all the time. We're always deployed. We're doing this, and you're going to use a language. I was like, okay, I want to do that. That'd be kind of neat.
Yeah. I imagine being part of like all these little cool things and everything, and then having to go back to your regular unit and just like knowing that this stuff is going on out there and you could be a part of it.
Yeah,
and you're here doing clean sweep.
What's up?
And you're at Bragg doing clean sweep,
right? or out in the field during Fort Bragg burning when they're burning all the pine needles. So here's what's interesting. So I took all that right. In fact, I was just driving by and I'm like, oh, they just did Fort Bragg burning because it's all everything's charred right now, right? But I took everything back, and the groups and the other folks that were down there as well, because a lot of them were in the same platoon, and we just started doing other stuff, different kinds of training within our platoon specifically. And when I eventually became a platoon sergeant, I think shortly after I came back from Operation Laser Strike, I became a platoon sergeant. And our next platoon leader was a former E7 Ranger Regiment guy, was a Ranger instructor. And he was also from Virginia Beach. So my buddy Steve Natoli, we were at rival high schools together. We were a year apart. It was, we were talking, like, this guy's awesome. So he started doing we just did some amazing training that we incorporated our technical capabilities and our language capabilities into it, but all of it in a tactical environment. And then we had a company commander, we called him Wacky K, also an amazing guy. He just let us do it, and he provided top cover for us, which I thought was nice, because the battalion wasn't really too sure why we were doing these different training events, whatever it was. And then our company commander is like, yeah. So then he then he said he saw the value of it, and now the whole company's doing all these different things, tactical training, but then very specific on their technical skills. And we would pit each other against platoons against each other, which always a lot of fun, right? Mm-hmm. And so during those 2-ish years, I was a platoon sergeant, and coming out of a team leader job into a platoon job, we took all those experiences because a lot of the folks did something similar to what I did as well. We took all those experiences and we just brought it back to our platoon and our company, and then we just did other stuff that way. And so it was, I would say, I mean, slightly biased, but our company was the best one in the battalion. Of course, that's what I like to say. We won all the competitions. It was good, but yeah. I mean, I would say though, but I would say our company, we just because of those experiences. That we had with a group of folks that we had, and we were picking and choosing people to come into the platoon and into the company, which was nice, and all that training and everything really helped us out, and it was really cool. It sparked in me like I wanted to be a teacher when I was a kid, and doing that satisfied a craving for me is to teach other people. It was that, and that started me on a path to help others out. Again, or I guess that solidified my path on to help others out. I really enjoyed it.
This is before Al Gore's internet ruined training.
Wow.
Dan finds a way to work in Al Gore's internet into every episode.
I love it.
Man, bear, pig.
So when was it that you went to third group?
So I didn't go to third group. I did re-enlist, and I had orders to go to third group. And during that time, a friend of mine, so he passed some years ago for cancer, but Chris, again, a former platoon sergeant, gave me a call. He's like, hey, man, there's a group, I got a buddy of mine. I think you'd like to hear from, da-da-da. You mind if I give you your contact information and all this other stuff? And I said, what's it about? He's like, don't worry about it. I was like, okay. And then a few days later, the big inspections. As you get ready to go on your 18-hour red cycle, whatever it was. You had to do all your inspections and all this other stuff, whatever it is, from vehicles to this to that, make sure everybody's ready when your vehicles get put away into the yard and all this other stuff.
It's Fort Bragg,
right? Big inspection, right? And they're all going like all inspection teams are going through. And my first sergeant comes and says, hey, man, I got a buddy of mine. Let's go to lunch. And I said, well, I got this big inspection. He's like, yeah, someone else can do it. Let's go. And so I met this guy named Mark Foltz, and he was a recruiter for the unit. And I didn't know him I didn't even know he was anybody but a friend of my first sergeant. And then we had lunch. I got back, got back into those swing of things for the inspection. And later on that afternoon, my first sergeant came in. He's like, hey, man, great job with the interview today. I was like,
interview?
Right. I'm like, what interview? He's like, don't worry about it. You did good. I was like, okay. I'm confused. Like
I thought we were just going for hot dogs.
Right. And then and as you're so busy, you're not really piecing all these things together at all. And then I get this phone call. I was like, hey, my name is Mike. We'd like you to come. We've got X, Y, and Z. We got our recruiters down there. We'd like for you to come to our briefing and everything else. So I said, well, I don't know, we'll see. Maybe not. Because I was going to third group, this and everything else. And then like some of the guys who had just gotten back from the brief, a buddy of mine, Chris, is like, hey, man, they're looking for you. I'm like, what do you mean? Who's looking? Like, what's going on? What is going on right now? He's like, hey, man, we went to that brief, and like, hey, they told us who the person they're looking for. Like, they're literally looking for you, dude. They're looking for someone just like you. And I was like, hey, was the guy named Mike there? He's like, yeah. I was like, oh, I just got a call from that guy.
Yeah.
He's like, you need to go. So I went the next day, and I'm sitting in this brief, and then Mike comes up. He's like, hey, can you come chat with me for a little bit? I was like, yeah. So we leave. I'm like, oh, well, that was a quick no-go. And he hands me an envelope, a big packet, bunch of stuff in there. He's like, hey, man, fill all this stuff out. We want you to give it a shot. I said, what about the brief? He's like, yeah, that's for them. Here you go. You don't have to be here for this. I was like, okay. So, and then, I mean, years later, I realized, as I'm telling the story now, obviously you realize why, right?
Yeah.
And then, so I did fill it all out. It was right over the Christmas time. And then I went through an assessment and selection program in early March. It was a lot of fun. Really enjoyed it. And then learned a lot about what you think is your limit and how you can bust right through it.
Yeah.
We've all done it, kind of maybe fits and starts in our lives and stuff like that, as kids and maybe as young adults or even as we get older. But right then and there, during that time, you get a lot of come to Jesus moments, a lot of self-reflection. Hey, is this what I want to do? Is this, that? You got to bust through all those things. And a lot of people quit because they didn't know that it's all unknown. It's all these, like, you just never know what's going to happen. I thought it was kind of cool because that's the kind of things I like to do. Like, oh,
it's kind of wired that way.
Yeah, try something new. Let's jump right in. Let's do this. Let's do that. And I'm like one of those guys. Hey, quick, hold my beer. Have you ever done this before? Nope. Let me give it a shot. So it was a lot of fun. And then at the end, they're like, hey, do you want to take a leap of faith with us? Because we want to take a leap of faith with you. I said, yep, I would love to do it. And then so I got back to the 313th. And there were a lot of folks that had already gone from the from the battalion up into the unit. And
it's kind of almost like a feeder system almost.
It is, right.
Yeah,
because not just that battalion, but a lot of the tactical battalions. Sure. And yeah, so then a few months later, I was up in the D.C., Maryland area, and I spent 16 years up there. And just the crazy part was it was 6.5 years in the 82nd. I'm sure you've all experienced this. You eventually, especially if you do really well, you become like a bigger fish in a very small pond, and you're like, okay, you're one of the few that kind of your go-to your by name request for different deployments, TDYs, and everything else. But then you get to the unit, you're just a regular fish in a small pond, but you're just a regular fish.
Very different pond.
Yeah, but you're just another fish in that pond, and you have to prove yourself every day. And I also like that because I like to compete, and I want to be around people who also want to compete and want to make themselves better. And it was freaking awesome. Okay. And that was a high attrition rate.
We'll take a quick break.
Okay.
But then we'll talk about what we can about those 16
years. Sounds good.
Okay. All right. So, when was it that you went off to do bigger and better things?
In 2000, summer 2000, went through the training course, and then graduated later that year. And in January 2001, I was in free fall school. Never thought I would go to that school. And again, I'm afraid of heights, so
that is a factor.
It is, but it's interesting, between 34 feet, well, not 34, the tower, but like 1,500 feet, whatever, or, in the 82nd, as low as 800 feet, 850, right? Always seems to get lower. Or lower, right? If you're in the big exercises, it's much lower.
It ain't 800.
No. But at 12,000 feet, upwards of close to 25,000 feet, it looks completely different. It looks like a movie screen. And they had the opportunity to either poise out, which you come out backwards, or you dive out. On the first one, I was like, I'm gonna poise out.
Is it because you can't see the individual blades of grass immediately below you that makes it different?
That, and it literally just looks like a movie screen. Like when it's just, and you can see a lot more. It is pretty amazing, especially either at dawn or at dusk. And you just look out, and you just see multiple states sometimes, depending on where you are. It's pretty cool. Yeah, I loved it. It was neat. So
that was right before 9/11.
It was. So in January, I graduated, and then eventually made my way to deployment. And then during that time, I was deployed.
Oh, during 9/11?
Yeah, it was crazy.
What do you remember about your reaction or the reaction of maybe the people to your left and right that morning?
Yeah, I remember getting up in the morning, and we were overseas, getting ready to go to work, and I was watching the news on CNN, and I just remember seeing one of the towers smoking, and I thought to myself, try to blow the towers up again, because earlier in the 90s they hit the basement bomb.
93, 95?
Early to mid 90s.
Yeah, because I was in the Army at the time.
I can't remember
the basement bombing and everything else. I guess they try to hire up. So I'm watching, like, oh man, that really sucks, right? Because obviously, you don't really know what's. I'm watching it, right? People are trying to figure it out, and then also the second plane smacks into the second tower. I was like, oh my god, and I'm just staring at the TV, going, holy crap, what just happened?
Yeah.
And my buddy was in the other room. I'm like, and I yelled out, Mikey, I don't think we're going to work today, dude. And just a few minutes later, we got a phone call. Hey, shelter in place, do this, do that. So we locked everything down, grabbed our kit, and no one knew what was going on because because we're overseas. There were some threats overseas, especially where we were as well. It was not the most secure area. And so we sheltered in place for a few days, and some moving around, not too much, and constant communication. And then when we were able to get out and about, start getting back into work because we had a job to do still. So we were still working, and we got back out to the local pipe list. A lot of people were coming up like, "Oh my God, how are you all doing as Americans?" and everything else. A lot of support for just being an American. Where we were about this is BS, this is this, and we're kind of behind you. And so that was interesting and pretty cool to say that, hey,
sympathy.
We're praying for you. Yeah, sympathy. And so in September, I remember that fairly vividly, just yelling at my buddy, "Hey, we're not going to work today." Just on that, and then just thinking about all what was, obviously watching on the aftermath, and then as the months rolled by on what we were getting ready to do, and I knew I wasn't going to go back into that same country I was in before. I was like, I guarantee I'm going to be going across the pond fairly shortly.
It's interesting that you immediately knew it was a terrorist attack, whereas most people thought the first plane was a freak accident.
Yeah, so I didn't even see the first plane. Again, I just saw this. It was smoke, and I was like, "Oh!" And I immediately thought about that basement bomb. I saw someone just attacked. Someone just attacked the towers, as in like in a callous kind of way. I was like, "Oh my God!" Someone. But I just thought it was higher up.
Yeah.
Because I thought, I guess they didn't figure the basement was going to do it. They'll smack it towards the upper floors. Yeah, that was the first thing especially in the jobs I was in, the job I was doing.
Right.
Even at the current time, and I was like, man, that's just not cool, right? And then again, when the second one hit,
it's on.
Yeah, it was just staring at the TV, and then, like I said, telling my buddy, like, "Hey, that's out of all the things I could say, hey, I don't think we're going to work today." As I think back on it now, right? I chuckle a little bit, but I was like, "What?" That's all I could think of at the time. It's like, "Hey, we're not going to work today," which we weren't, and then immediately going into, okay, what are we doing? And we knew we were going to be locked down. We knew it. Like my buddy and I were already, and then the guys across the hall. We started right away. Before we even got the phone call, we had an idea because we give you all of your contingency plans, and so we were starting to enact that right away. So, kudos to the entire team for immediately going into contingency operations while having to be told, while having to wait for this and everything else. So again, it was really cool to be in that not be in that situation, but being in that situation with a group of individuals who knew what they needed to do and didn't need to be told to do it.
Yeah.
And so for that, I was very thankful for having them.
Yeah.
Now, you hadn't been there long at that point.
No, not at all.
What do you remember about like that shift on September 12th? Whether it was a mindset shift, a training focus shift, communications changes, anything like that?
From being down in theater, I would say outside of just being holed up for a few days and then switching back into going back to work mode, I would say just being more aware of our situation, of where we were, our surroundings and everything, just in case. Again, there were still threats to Americans outside the country. And so we were more aware, cautious, and definitely more kitted up than we normally would have been.
A bit more vigilant? Is that
yeah, I would say vigilant. Yeah. And not saying that we were not vigilant before, but there's always, we've all been in situations where you've been on patrol, it's not, the area's generally safe, but then when something does happen, or maybe somewhere else maybe something else happened in an area near yours, you become much more vigilant, even though yours may be considered more secure. That's what it was like. But coming home was very different, though. Coming home was very odd. Airports were scarce. Watching soldiers walk around the airports with weapons and everything else like that was different. It was overseas. It's very commonplace.
It's typical. Yeah.
It's typical. And people were freaking out in the United States. In the back of my head, I'm like, obviously, I've never traveled overseas before. That's another day in another country. But since we generally don't do that here in the United States, it was weird seeing soldiers walk around with weapons. It was odd.
Yeah. We've talked about it with a few other people before, but I mean, like, You always took your training seriously,
Yeah.
but then after September 11th, you took it more seriously.
Yes.
If you were going to a school, the standards were more rigid.
Yeah.
It wasn't just you did good enough, we'll go ahead and pass you. It was, no, you did not meet the standard. So,
that is actually true. And then even though in the unit, obviously a lot of training goes on, just like any other high performing organization, you train to quote unquote perfection, right? You train to do it right every time, no matter what. And there was a renewed focus on that, even a more renewed vigor towards that, I guess. And then obviously as people were deploying early in that October and everything else, all the way through obviously until the wars end in the 20s, that vigor remained, because things changed over time, either from an aviation perspective, a ground perspective, maritime perspective, whatever it was. Things continued to change, and in the organization where I was in, we changed with it. We actually were changing well before it, so it was kind of neat.
Yeah.
Coming home was, like I said, was different. The post was open. We didn't have to use ID, because Fort Bragg used to be an open post.
Oh yeah.
So I remember coming on and saw a gun truck right there at the post, right there at the front of the gate, and a young soldier on there on the M249, the squad assault weapon. Finger on the trigger, weapon off safe. I was like, that's and I mean, pointed right at the cars coming in. So I drive up, show my ID card. I can see it, and I'm very familiar with the weapon.
We've met.
Right. And I said, hey, man, you got to tell that cat to put his finger off the trigger, and you definitely need to have that weapon on safe, because he's one sneeze away from shooting everybody down this entire – he's got it lined up. No one wants that. You don't want that. They don't want that. Nobody wants that. And the cat didn't realize it. He's like, what do you mean? He's like, I guess the dude on the gun truck just thought he was, too cool for school. I was like, yeah, he's one sneeze away from lighting off a few rounds, and in his excitement or scared or whatever, he'll probably just keep putting his finger on the trigger. So we just de-escalate that real fast. How would we do that?
Yeah.
So I would give that gate guard a lot of credit. Ran right over and took care of the situation pretty fast.
Put him in a cross-collar choke.
Yeah, took care of that situation pretty fast. But again, it's things like these young soldiers. And again, I was young at the time, right? Is it still a young staff sergeant? Right? Yeah, I think a staff sergeant at the time. We, post Cold War, you play War in the Woods. We didn't have enough money. Sometimes you had blanks, sometimes you didn't. Sometimes you're yelling bang bang, doing this, doing that, throwing pine cones for whatever it was, because you just didn't have all this stuff. It doesn't matter if you're an infantryman or an MI professional, whatever it was. We just didn't have the resources in the 90s.
Spent plenty of time in the snow at Fort Drum yelling bang bang for a couple of weeks because you went to the field with one magazine of blanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
nothing like Miles Gear yelling bang bang bang.
Right. Yeah. Just tap it. Just tap the top of the laser. It'll fire off. I was like, oh, it does work. That's pretty cool. But this young kid, he just pulled out of whatever his job is. He doesn't. You're not experiencing it. Now we look back on it. Obviously, over the years, you get more and more accustomed to doing stuff like that, especially for 20 plus years of combat. But then in 2001, and when I got back in October, for a lot of these young cats, it was very different, scary, and a lot of the unknown, and just seeing that not the wild look in his eyes, but the kid was scared. Like he was.
I mean, pretty much everybody was.
Yeah, because there was a lot going on. It's amped up. I mean, maybe more amped up than scared, but you just don't know. And he's thinking to himself, "I'm doing the right thing, doing the X, Y, Z." But there's a way to do the right thing, and but it got fixed pretty fast. So good for that young cat on the gate. And I moved on from there, and then started my first deployment in 2002. Combat deployment. I should say that combat deployment. Been deployed a lot.
Yeah.
So tell us about being on car size personal security detail.
Yeah, it was interesting. So again, the same guy I was down in theater with. We were both asked to go to be on this detail, and it was really cool. So we met the team in Bagram, and I do remember going down into Kabul because you can drive. You do it's the Wild West back then, right? But I remember going down there. Our vehicle broke down. Of course, why not? So we were out in the middle of nowhere and we broke down right at a checkpoint, which I guess was pretty good, right?
Yeah,
right.
I mean, that's fortunate.
Of all the places.
Right. So eventually we were out there for a couple hours, so we got recovered and everything. So that was kind of that was interesting. And then got down there. Beyond the cars I detailed was neat. It was eye opening a lot. It was very dangerous. We did still consolidating power. Still a lot of warlords out there. Mm-hmm. Obviously the assassination attempt with Karzai. My buddy had a bullet graze his skull during that attempt. You know what saved that guy's life? Karzai's life during the assassination attempt? The headrest. It took 2 bullets. Took 2 AK-47 rounds into the headrest. Oh, actually, one of them creased my buddy's skull, but maybe that slowed it down a little bit. I'm not too sure. That's the joke we tell him.
So we have him to thank?
At least for one of them.
Okay.
But the headrest.
Was it a factory headrest or was it
just a headrest? Just a regular headrest.
Okay, so it wasn't
it just absorbed the rounds?
Yeah. We're through the glass and it stopped 2 bullets. Yeah. And then a friend of ours, a sniper in the other vehicle, took out the 2 guards. It was impressive. That guy was an amazing shot, by the way. So did all that, and then so my buddy was down there with that team. I was with another team at the time. So as that assassination attempt was going off, we got hit at the same time, so it was a coordinated attack. So IEDs and some small arms fire and a few other things, and where we were. Oh yeah, it was crazy. And then come to find out, my buddy, again, intel professional by trade, and we have a lot of training in other things. Obviously, for us is you have to know how to work with a team, be with a team, do whatever the team needs. But at the end of the day, you are there for a specific reason, and that is our technical capability. Maybe not so much our language capability, but understanding. You could understand like when people are amped up, this, that, everything else. So there's some, and you can learn keywords and stuff like that. But I remember my buddy took control of all the airspace because the Air Force guy that was with him was having trouble. I don't know what the issue was. But my buddy's like, give me the radio. I remember like our team was coming back. You should have seen Mikey. He just grabbed the damn radio because the guy wasn't doing what he was supposed to do. And next thing you know, we've got aircraft coming in like 4 different stacks or 3 different IPs. Stacking up aircraft every 1,000 feet and just bringing them in. And then so Mikey controlled the entire airspace in the Kandahar region for several hours as post assassination attempt. So I give a huge shout out to my buddy for doing that. And then they were just singing his praises for weeks. Like, oh yeah, dude. Like, and they were kind of joking like, here's an MI dude, right? Intel professional, just grabbing everything. They unexpected that but we had actually just prior to that had done some training in the Midwest in the United States on specifically that stuff on calling in birds for out of the IP in their stacks and do bombing runs. And then at the others, and then you do either doing that or doing your technical training. So well done for Mikey that it was able to do that. So good for the teams too, because it proved not only could we do our jobs very effectively, that we could also integrate with the team very well in what we need. So that I think allowed Mikey and I to do a lot more with the teams because it's the first time we were down in there, first time we had met a lot of the guys. And still talk to quite a few of them today, which is really cool. A couple of the guys were at my retirement ceremony, which was really neat. And it really set the tone for my next 8 combat deployments after that. Really 7 with the organization, and my 9th one was as a brigade sergeant major, which was way different. Way different.
I can imagine.
Yeah, way different.
Yeah.
So for almost 20 years, you're bouncing around doing a bunch of stuff that you can't really talk about. How does that impact, your family?
A lot. So I was married at the time, and then my daughter was born, and I just had this question yesterday. I was sitting down with a group of soldiers. Like one of the greatest moments of my career was the birth of my daughter, and you can go on 270, 300 days of the year, either from deployments, TDYs, training, whatever it is. It takes quite a toll. And my ex-wife is an amazing lady. She's a fantastic mother, a great teacher. She teaches math. but we grew apart. We became roommates more than anything, and I don't think either one of us wanted to live that life. So we divorced, unfortunately, when my daughter was young. And so my daughter went to live with her, with my ex-wife, and then I was deploying a lot. So in the summertime, my daughter would come out and visit. And one of the reasons why that's sitting here today is because I wrote a series of odes and poems and everything for my daughter to let her know that even while I was deployed, I always thought about her. So everything about this book is to my daughter, all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was very difficult. My family doesn't even know what I did for those years. On my retirement ceremony, we had a bunch of guys talking up there like, "Oh yeah, I remember this, and this," and my family's looking at me, and I'm looking at them. I was like, "God damn, man, what are these dudes?" I had a roast for my ceremony. It was awesome. So I literally had a roast for my mom was the first one to roast me. Let's be really clear. She got up there and just lit it off, and then I think that set the tone also for that everybody else
Nice.
was just really I got hammered. Not hammered
Nice.
like drinking, but I mean, I just got, they were just hammer fisted.
It's a good roast. It's a good
It was
one.
awesome.
So what led to the end of
time.
that part of your service?
So I was a battalion sergeant major at the time, and then for us, it's from the, you could be at the brigade. So I competed for the brigade. It was like the first alternate, right? If you're not first, you're last kind of thing. And what I didn't want to, I still want to do other things inside the Army. I just want to do other things. I wanted to continue on in my career. And inside the organization, although it's really good, you'd have to kind of be put out like, hey, you be the ops sergeant major, do this, do that. And I was like, well, again, I still have to compete again another 3 years or 3 years. And I didn't want to wait. I didn't want to wait that long. So I came out of the organization, went to USASOC as the G2, the Intel Sergeant Major there for a year, 18 months. Then I got selected as a Brigade Sergeant Major. And I actually got pulled out of my fiscal year about 9 months early. So I got selected. I was actually not supposed to be in position for another 9-10 months. But the organization was deploying, and my buddy was getting ready to have surgery for his shoulders. You know, the older you get, it's a lot of wear and tear on our bodies.
Yeah.
And so he asked me, hey, can you come in day X, Y, Z? I said, well, I can't come in April. I can make it in June. Or I'm sorry, I couldn't make it in January. I could come out in April kind of thing, whatever it was, or June. Because I was still wrapping up stuff, and I was actually TDY with my teammates at the time. So, yeah, I came out of the organization. Again, you have to use SOC for a year, which was a lot of fun because you get reintegrated with, although it's still a soft organization or a special operations force organization, it's still different.
Yeah.
Much
Was
different.
that challenging after nearly 2 decades?
It was because it was. I was like, I was looking at the courses they were running for the inside of USASOC, and me, I was very focused on the intel piece of it, and in the training across all of USASOC. The nice thing was being in the organization, as you know, you get all your scare badges and everything else. But I know a lot of the guys that were in leadership positions at the time because we had served together. And
Y'all
everything.
came up together.
Yeah, so it made it great. So I was able to go out to talk to the group sergeants major and say, hey, and even if they didn't know me, at least there was a reputation that was there. Or I'd say, hey, I'm getting ready to go to group XYZ. Or I'd call a buddy of mine, hey, you can let them know I'm coming in. And so that made those little kind of those FAR bona fides helped out quite a bit, right? Yeah. And what got me was the resourcing was very different. And so I remember our civilians were all like, hey, Sergeant Major, you know, take your Lamborghini, why don't you put it in the garage over here, and bust out your Yugo. Here's your resources now. Right?
Yugo. How many people even know what a Yugo
Right?
is?
How many people
I was going to say
remember
Yugo
that?
is, I should say was.
So so learning that, and then understanding the difference in the resourcing and what we could and couldn't do was very challenging. The good thing though was because I did own a large budget when I was an ops sergeant major inside the organization, coming out, understanding the different colors of money, pots of money and everything else like that, helped me out significantly, especially with my counterpart, Pat Wimpy, who's an amazing guy. So we were able to sit down and talk a lot about budgeting money, resourcing across all of USASOC, and then how we can pull from other, OPM, other people's money is great.
OPM.
And how to pull money from other people and looking at different resources that people weren't using. And then I would just call and say, hey, if I can look at their budget, I can see it. They haven't used it. This is this. We've already expended ours for the year. And they're like, oh, okay, yeah, we'll just shift that money over to you all. And that was from different organizations throughout the Army back into USASOC. And so again, the being in the unit and the networking from a social and personal network was really great. And then again, same people, right? And then the professional side was amazing. So I was able to leverage a lot of my former teammates. And if I didn't know somebody, I could call and get either a point of contact or whatever it is, or make a virtual contact through somebody else. So I give a lot of huge shout out to the organization for allowing that to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, the resourcing, it was a shock. And then when I got to my brigade, so in the organization, you're picked, right? You get your hand picked to go there, you go through your assess, you do this, whatever it is. And if you don't do well, you get a little bit of time to kind of make yourself better. If not, you're gone, right? When you go to a brigade as brigade sergeant major, guess what? Everybody, they just PCS in there, right? So that was also different.
Yeah.
Is that now you have this much larger pool of people. I mean, I say much larger pool of people, but vastly different experiences.
But you're competing for that nominative position among the whole.
For the brigade job, yeah. So not nominative, but as a command select list position.
Okay, yeah. Yes, thank you. But you're competing against
other E9s
across the whole army, though. It's
for the MI Corps. I was
correct,
yeah. And then you get selected, and then they give you the here's your brigade, which is pretty cool. I was excited to go deploy.
You can either accept it or not.
If you don't, then it's declination with prejudice, and you're out of the army.
And then you're done. Yeah.
I think you have 90 days at the time you're out of the army.
Yep.
And there was a reason why we changed. I don't need to go into that, but I got to the brigade and got there in June. And
which brigade?
The 504th MI Brigade. Not
the other 504th.
Right. Yeah, not the Parachute Infantry Regiment here at Fort Bragg at the center of the universe.
Devils in baggy pants.
That's right. And that was a lot of fun because I don't think they've ever experienced someone like
you.
Right. Like I smile a lot, and I get that all the time, right? I smile in all my pictures, and they're like, "Oh, you're supposed to be." I've had soldiers come up. You smile way too much, man. Like, man, it's a good day to be alive, I guess. But I remember going to the range the first time, and I had a lot of our younger soldiers, wanted to shoot. Like, hey, Sergeant Major, can you shoot? I was like, yeah, I do all right. I'm okay at it. So they want to do a competition. I was like, sure. What do y'all want to do? And so they couldn't. They were like, oh, I didn't think I was going. I don't think they thought I was going to accept. I was like, here's what we're going to do. We take 28 rounds, 10 seconds. I'm going to put a target out there, and you see who can blow the middle of the target. It's a zero target, right? Because we're on the zero range. And like you can't shoot 28 rounds in 10 seconds. Like, oh yes, you can. Yeah, I guarantee you can. Pretty and semi-on. You're not holding down. It's not
on burst.
Yeah, not like yours. And so we did that. That was a lot of fun, and it did a bunch of other competitions. So it was good to be out there with our younger cats. It was very different. Like they want to do something. A lot of us, they don't know. I'm gonna say they don't know the purpose, but
they don't know what they don't know.
Right, but there's so much energy there, and it's
channel it.
Yeah, and some of it's contained, some of it comes out, because we were all young, right? We're all like, yeah, let's do this, right? And then a lot of times it was a lot of first combat deployment for a lot of folks, even our officers, which was it was very interesting, right? I can fully understand why we had some Vietnam vets in the later part of their careers inside the 313th, and I just remember them like, oh, man, I was pooping in diapers before I was in the army before you were pooping in diapers, kind of thing, da 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 da. And now, as I look, and they were, been in combat and everything else.
You become that guy?
But no. But I just remember, like, looking at them, like, man, we had a lot of folks here who never deployed, and it's just very different. And I was like, okay, now we got to really buckle down and with our senior non-commissioned officers and say, okay, hey, we got to make sure that our folks are ready.
When was it that you took over the 504th?
2017.
Yeah, so things were winding down.
Yeah, it was crazy. So I get overseas. We're on Bagram. I've been on Bagram before, but a lot of times, I'm out, and I'm just being out.
Yeah, the difference between 2001, 2002 Bagram to what it became.
Oh, dude,
Bagram.
So I remember when they had it was Disney Road was all dirt.
Mm-hmm.
I remember sleeping on pallets in tents that weren't really working.
Motel 6 and Motel 8.
Yeah.
No windows, no doors. The air tower didn't have a roof or windows.
Yeah, you couldn't step off the flight line. because of all the mines.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you're coming off of Bagram, I just remember all along all the road was just piles of. Remember when they had the rocks piled up where the mines were,
marking the mines. Yeah,
yeah. And I remember an old Afghan guy using a spoon to dig around a mine. I'm like, dude, but we're paying them to find mines. I was like, bro, I mean, if something goes wrong, you'll never know. But that's dude, fresh and
you'll go fast.
I mean, early on, we were paying good, hard American dollars.
Oh yeah, and so and then again, it was we were able to travel around. We traveled around quite a bit, especially while we're on the ground. I was all up and down. I wouldn't say the eastern seaboard, not seaboard, but on the eastern side from the Tajik border all the way down to Lawara Skin area, and probably points as far west as maybe like the Gardez Zormont area. That's kind of the operations I
know well.
Yeah, and then but coming in as a brigade, so you fly everywhere. There was no driving. There was very little driving going around. So we just flew everywhere. So we pushed all of our teams out. It was really good. Again, now that I was out of the organization, it started to really link up with a lot more folks from the conventional forces, which is really good. So I made a lot of headway as they were coming in. And I would reach out to them knowing that they, like when 3rd ID came in to replace with the 101st, reached out to their teams and they were, hey, look, looking forward to you working with you and everything else. Because again, when you're in a soft organization, special operations, you don't own the ground. You're just in someone else's space, and you have to learn how to network. So that actually, again, helped me out about how I can network with other people even before coming in, and then letting them know what our capabilities are and everything from senior leader to senior leader. And then now I'm living vicariously through my soldiers. So you travel around a lot.
That's an adjustment.
It is.
Yeah.
But the cool part is I would reach out to other organizations like nonprofits for like Bunkers for Baghdad. I got socks. I got all kinds of stuff like Fox Socks. I can't remember.
Fox River.
Fox River Socks. Yeah.
We're an affiliate of Fox River.
Oh, nice. So Fox River, right? So I reached out to them, and then what you do is you put in what you want, and then people pay for it, and you get a bundle, and they fire it off to you. And then so I just get all the sizes, and then nice thing is my family, like there was actually a thing on there too. I have very large feet, right, size 15. So they bought size 15 socks. They actually put in the package, this is for Sergeant Major Baird. Do not let him give it to anybody else because he's giving away everything. And it came in, and my commander actually brought it in. She's like, these are for you. I was like, oh, we have this. She's like, these are for you. These are for you from your family. I was like, okay. So I really appreciate my family doing that. It was really nice. But then I would go around and see all of our teams. So I traveled around quite a bit to see all of it. So I actually got all the way to Helmet, all the way out to the western border right there with Iran, everything for the got to see some other places I really haven't been to before inside of Afghanistan. Again, you're going like post to post, but it was still kind of neat just to be able to say, now I've been to these places before. So, and then sitting down and talking with our young cats, and it was really neat. They were talking to me about all the operations they were doing, and then we had a couple of guys. Unfortunately, they didn't get killed, but they got hit with shrapnel because the Afghan next to them, one of the Afghan soldiers died. He got hit with an RPG round, smacked right into the sandbag in front of him. Unfortunately, passed away, and then but our guys got hit, and and several others got hit too in the teams they were supporting, which was a soft unit, and my buddies were the NSOC, the commander and command sergeant major, used to be my brigade commander and command sergeant major, and they were there on the ground as well, which was really nice. And so when they were awarding the Purple Hearts to their teammates, they reached out and said, hey, would you like to have your guys, like our guys want your guys to come in and be a part of this. And so my brigade commander and I, and a couple other folks, and so in their leadership, we all went over to the NSOC compound and got to see them get awarded a Purple Heart with their team, which I thought was really neat. I thought it was really, really cool that one, they reached out to say, hey, we want to see them with their team. And so one of the guys was having a hard time, and I said, hey, we sat down and chatted in the office for a while, just going through experiences and trying to, hey, man, there's a lot going on in life. And he's like, hey, man, have you ever been in a near-death experience? I'm like, yes, several times. And he's like, well, how'd you get through it? How'd you do this? How'd you do that? So he was asking really good questions. And then a lot of self-reflection on my end. And it kind of ended up in the book here. So that last deployment was interesting. In fact, my daughter gave me this little bear to deploy with, like a little flat Stanley, but it's a little Beanie Baby bear named Cool Bear. That dude went everywhere with me. everywhere.
You got the pictures to prove it and everything?
Oh, I do.
There you go.
I do. He was actually a friend of mine's an F-16 pilot, and Cool Bear was in there with him.
That's awesome.
And he went on a bombing run. I was like, hey, man, your bear's pretty lethal guy. I was like, that's what I'm talking about.
You talked about it before, about how there was a lack of deployment experience when you took over. Did people actively seek out your mentorship or your experience before the deployment, or even during the deployment, whether it was NCOs or officers?
Yep, both actually. So they knew I'd been deployed a lot, not just combat, but just around the world. And when I would go around, and I moved around a lot around the brigade when I first got there, because I needed to learn the brigade before we left. I only had like 2 months to do it. And so I went to all the field exercises and everything else like that. And I would sit down and really just say, hey, what do y'all want to talk about? And so a lot of cats just asked a lot of questions. And one of them was about family, like how do we deal with family, but like how do we talk to our families? We're overseas, we do this and do that. And so we went through that quite a bit. And some of the things I told them was, right, wrong, different people had different opinions. Like, hey, don't call every day. It's not going to help you out. Like, don't call your family every day. It's not. It's my experience. And I said, but if you do, that's great. And if your significant other is back at home and they're just going to vent, let them vent. You just nod your head, even though they may not be able to see you, and just be very supportive, because you're amongst a lot of people here trying to do the same thing. That person may be alone and unafraid, either as a single individual or the family, whatever. You got to support them as well. And that's, again, lessons learned, right, from experience over time. And I had a lot of folks come up to me, especially near the end of the deployment, say, hey, Sergeant Major, I really appreciate some of what you were talking about, because especially with the family stuff is, my wife or my husband or whoever, I just let them vent. And then, especially when we got back, they would say, man, it was really good because my family's still strong, because my significant other knew that they could just vent without me jumping in on, you think you have it bad. What do you think? What we got? We just had a 107 hit the flight line, or we had a 107 just, or whatever happened. Or I was just out on a mission. I say, hey, don't ever do that, because that you're not trying to one up your spouse. Like, you have no idea what they're going through.
That doesn't go anywhere good.
Right. And so we had a lot of folks say, hey, thanks for that advice. I said, hey, man, lessons learned please take my lessons learned, because that's experience coming forward. And I wish some, you're not saying I wish someone had told me that early, but we didn't really know, because before 2001, you're still playing War in the Woods, post-Cold War, still post-Cold War, ish, lingering. And so things changed very significantly that specific day in 2001, September 11th. Yeah. So, and these young officers they were awesome. I'd go to lunch with them, dinner, whatever else, and they'd all sit down and ask, like, hey, I've never deployed before, but I've had a bunch of, we got a bunch of non-commissioned officers and either junior officers who deployed, and I feel like I'm an imposter. I said, look, it happens to all of us. Like, it's the first time being a brigade sergeant major. Here I am today.
Yeah.
They're like, well, what do I do? I said, one, don't think you know everything. And then and listen and take advice. And at the end of the day, you're going to make a decision, make a command decision, and you'll tweak it as you go. But you don't do it alone. Like, listen to your team. They have the experience, this, that, and everything else. And take that with all the other data that you have and make an informed decision. So,
how long was that deployment?
It was a year. It was the longest deployment I've ever had. So I was in and out of theater quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I just remember...
That's pretty standard, 12 months.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. But for me, it was I remember being in 12 months, you'd be in and out of theater 2 or 3 times, or you'd be there 1 or 2 times, and you'd be somewhere else doing something in a non-combat theater. And, you're here, there, and everywhere. So to be there for a year was vastly different for me, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And back in the conventional force.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So because now you're in charge of an entire brigade.
Yeah.
A brigade's worth of soldiers.
Yeah.
What was reintegration like when you guys came back?
So it was difficult because the Army was starting stripping people out of the unit. Even so, at the time we were back-to-back deployments. The unit that replaced us, the 525 MI Brigade, they replaced us, we replaced them, and we were going to replace them again the following year. And so we were ramping up for that. And at the same time, as we got back, I can't remember what else was going on. We were getting ready. Might have been a shift at the Pacific. Something else was going on that had to ramp up for, but we didn't have the people for it because in the Army's infinite wisdom, the day you get back, people are PCS.
It's the Army Force Generation.
Right. And so when I was on leave, for my 2 weeks of leave, I actually took an additional 5 days of TDY on top of that to go to HRC, Human Resources Command. Yep. And I had, for all of my soldiers, I had a whole book of, it was my admin shop was great. We spent several months putting this all together and then laid everything out, like everybody's timeline, in a graph from like green to red. Just laid it all out. I said, hey, this is what's going to happen. I said, can we start? I know people have to PCS and permanent change of station and everything else like that, but can we sequence it in? You can't just drop everybody because now we're going to be well below the threshold of what we are as a deploying brigade at percentage X of filled positions, and I got a lot of pushback from that, which that frustrated me. That frustrated me a lot. Like. We are a deploying unit, and at the time we were scheduled to redeploy a year later to replace the unit that replaced us, that we replaced them. It was kind of really crazy, right? And now you're just off-gassing everybody, and we had to ramp everybody back up. And a lot of us are senior and mid-grade leaders who really what you want and need in there. Commanders, I get commanders come and go. It happens in the officer corps. But for the strength of our organization inside the non-commissioned officer corps, I could just off-gas all of our experience. So I was asking to sequence it in so we can make sure that we had experience there as we were bringing new folks on. And I didn't understand why, with HRC at the time, it was like, oh, we do talent management. And I was pushed back on that. No, you do personnel management. And just be clear on it. And it's okay.
Yeah.
If you just say you do personnel management and you do a screening process to make sure you have, as much as possible, the right people and I mean people, not person, but people to fulfill those roles who meet the screening criteria, great. Just say that.
Faces and spaces.
Right. You do talent management maybe at the E9 level, right? Because it's a very smaller population, which is good. Like it was very frustrating. And we had this. I said, hey, here's what I want people to come in, come out, and they just wouldn't do it. And it was very frustrating. Like, well, if we do it for you, I do it for everybody else. I was like, okay, well, okay, great. So,
but we've always done it this way,
right? Yeah, my favorite phrase outside of my favorite phrase alongside of "You're just a sergeant major." Those are my two favorite phrases. So, those are my two favorite phrases. So that reintegration was very interesting, and but overall, I think the brigade did well reintegrating. We had some obviously like infrastructure. As you come back to a barracks hasn't been there, been fully occupied in a year. You had to get through all that stuff, but we did, and I got to say, for my two commanders were really good, vastly different ladies, both very short though, fantastic. In fact, I just saw Deetra yesterday, one of my last and then Laura Knapp. I see her when I get down to Virginia, and it's just fun meeting up with them, just talking about all the fun times we had in the brigade and some of the trials and tribulations. Like, oh, remember this, remember
That's
that.
how that goes.
Yeah,
you can laugh about it after the fact.
Yeah. And they're both great ladies, and it was really neat to see Deetra yesterday. Take the time. She's like, hey, can you come visit me and visit some of my soldiers because I think they want to hear from us. Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to do that. Talk with them. So the reintegration was interesting, and then I was like, I saw with Deetra, she likes to say I abandoned her. So I went to my first nominative assignment. So it's very different, right? You interview, you do all these other things. So I did that shortly after we got back. I think about maybe 5-6 months after we returned from deployment. Even though we were getting ready to ramp back up to go again, I got my first nominative assignment just down in San Antonio. Fortunately at this time, so I'm remarried at the time, so my wife Joanne, who is now the Strategic Command Senior Enlisted Leader, she was a battalion sergeant major at the time, still on Fort Hood, not under my brigade. She was a separate battalion underneath the INSCOM Intelligence and Securities Command, one of their brigades, just stationed on Fort Hood, which was kind of nice. And so I was out in San Antonio, and she was up at Fort Hood. We've been geographically separated for years. It happens, right? Deployments and everything else like that. But again, lessons learned: be each other's cheerleader and keep a strong family together. So yeah, did my first nominative assignment. It was really cool. I learned a lot about installation management command. It was a lot of fun.
What was the biggest thing you learned?
So it's not all about barracks and utilities, which everybody thinks.
DPW.
Right. So everybody thinks all about that, but really it's all about power projection. So you look at power projection platforms, which are your brigades. How do you project power overseas? And then while you're dealing with all the overseas installations as well, concerns and camps. And so it's not, yes, facilities, infrastructure. That's a big part of it because again, I was the G357 sergeant major, so dealing with policy and everything else like that through across all the installations. Again, when you go to project power, it's material, equipment, all that stuff, right? Push it out. Once it's all pushed out, then what happens? How do you reconstitute an army? How do you do X? How do you do Y? How do you do Z? When you bring the reserve component in, if the National Guard comes in and they get pushed out, all these different things. And so if we did and we're switching over to large-scale combat operations, again, what's old is new, or what's new is old, right? Whatever it is, right? So kind of back to the 90s mentality again. Yep. Not so much mentality, but on the large-scale portion of it.
Yeah. Getting out of counterinsurgency operations,
right? Instead of like platoons, companies, maybe
at the BCT level tops,
right? And then now you're really thinking about corps and divisions moving, passage of lines. How does a corps do a passage of lines in a joint environment and stuff like that? So that's all coming back into reality again. And how do installations manage all that when it comes to power projection? How do they do it? What do installations do when you have new platforms that are coming up? When a new weapon comes online, when a new tank comes online, do you have enough room, power? Do your ranges work? Now the new weapons come out, you have to use a sniper range now because the regular range and the safety fan don't meet the requirements.
Yeah.
And so then you got to figure out like over 3 to 5 years, how do you build all that out? How much money do you have? I mean, it was amazing. And again, all those times I was in the organization and dealing with money, people, this, everything else, really translated into what I was doing in the G357. And then was a deputy manager for a couple of portfolios that reached into the billions with a B.
Oh, is that all?
Yes.
That's a rounding error in Washington.
Right. And so it was it was interesting, right? And then a really huge shout out to Stephanie Haney. She hired me as her sergeant major. She's an amazing lady as well. And what I liked about her and my teammate, now retired colonel, is Pete Sicoli, who's our deputy. He and I did a lot of deputy management work for a lot of these different portfolios across 3, what they call military decision executive packages, really just money. And it was really good. Very, very detailed. You had to be very detailed with that. And it was a lot. It was a lot to do. And so for that year to 18 months there, I learned a lot about just how the Army runs when it comes to installations and what it really means to be a garrison. It's not just barracks, motor pools, ranges, and then DPW. There's way more behind it than most people realize. And that's just what I just talked about, was just the surface. But if you get into that depth, it's amazing. It's amazing. And you're all part of the transformation for the Army. You have to be a part of it. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
So when did you decide that it was time to hang it up?
Oh, yeah. So my wife was stationed in Korea, and my daughter was living with me at the time. So I was my daughter was living with me for a few years, and she was coming home from spring break visiting her mom. Joanne was PCSing out of Korea. They were both landing in the same day, pretty much the same time, one in D.C., one in North Carolina. And my wife called and said, hey, can you come pick me up in North Carolina? I said, no, I got to pick up our daughter. 17-year-old kid. I was like, no, almost to a quote. You spend time in special operations. You've been around the world as much as I do. You have to figure this one out. Like, you can travel around all these foreign countries. You could do this, right? Jokingly, right? And she's like, oh yeah, I forgot that Veronica was coming. And so I picked up Veronica on a Saturday. Joanne flew in on Saturday down to North Carolina. The next day, I'm driving down to North Carolina to help my wife out because she didn't have a car. Everything was still coming over, everything else. My daughter's not happy that I was leaving the next day. My wife was. I'm going to say she wasn't happy, but she's like, obviously she wanted me to be there to see her.
Of course.
When she PCS after two plus years in Korea. So I got down there and we were driving around and picking up her car and getting all these things done with her car. And I just looked at her. I said, I'm retired. I'm done. Like I'm done with this. I'm done being separated for this long. and this solidifies right here, like this bouncing back and forth. And at the time, I was competing for 4-star commands. I was on the list to compete for a couple of them. Pretty competitive to do that. And she looked at me and she's like, "Are you sure?" I said, "Yeah." This right here is like, this is the you'll know when you know.
Your aha moment.
Yeah, and I knew it right then and there. I said, "You know what? This is it." And so I got back home, and at the time it was I don't know if it still is right now, but you do 2 years out. You can submit your paperwork. And I was talking to my boss at the time, and he's like, "Hey, man, like, good to go, but you're still going to be here." Right? I said, "Hey, man, my primary change of responsibility at P Court is January 2025, and I'm working all the way up to it." And so we laid out a whole plan and everything else. And I still have some things to do along the way, but I'm still going to travel, do this, that. And so the nice thing is about 2 years out, I was able to chip away at some things. But that was my moment in driving around with my wife and just realizing, like, I'm done being separated from her and then not being there for my daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I went back when I went back up to the D.C. area, I submitted my paperwork.
And you had to, presumably you had to withdraw your packets for those nominative.
I did. I called my buddy right away, and then I got a call from the Sergeant Major of the Army, got a earful from him, and then CZ called me when he was the senior enlisted advisor to chairman. He's like, "Dude, what are you doing, buddy?" I was like, "I'm going to retire on my own terms, and here's the reason why." He's like, "Okay, I get it." He's like, "But why are you retiring?" I'm like, "Dude." He's like, "You can still compete while you're retiring." I'm like, "I'm not going to be that guy. I'm going to make the decision. I'm not going to do it with my family. I've jerked my family around enough." And then this one, once I made the decision to retire, I held on to that decision. There were some really good opportunities out there. But as I got closer to retirement, I realized, yeah, I'm glad I made that decision.
Was there an opportunity that came up after you'd made that decision that almost tempted you, or maybe tempted you more than others to stay? No.
Once I made the decision, there were some that would have been really cool. I would have done that, but not enough to even come close to pulling my retirement back or competing for that position. Because what I didn't want to do is, and I was just at a nominative transition course with some folks they go through the retirement phase. Some are even on terminal leave, and they're still competing, and they get selected. So now they got to disrupt their family even more. It could potentially be like a few days from retire, like no stuffing retirement, and now going back into the Army. I didn't want to do that to my family. Like I said, I've been jerking my family around so much. And I just didn't want to be that person who I want to say waffles, who goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. No, I'm retiring, because then we were able to start really making a plan that works for my wife and for me. Shoot, this is the first time we PCS together. And I was retired out of the Army when it happened. Like the first time I PCS to Texas and dropped my wife off to
as a dependent.
Yeah, as a dependent potus, right? It's perfect. But here's what's crazy: I dropped my wife off to deploy when I PCS'd out to Texas to take my brigade. That's how our careers were like that the entire, like we were high-fiving in theater. We were kind of virtual high-five in midair as one plane was passing the other kind of thing. And that's why I said when I made the decision to retire, I'm not jerking my family around anymore, especially my daughter. She doesn't really know what I did. I really didn't tell her much. I didn't want her to know. And
how old was she? Because she was little when you divorced.
Yeah, she was she was a baby.
So she's pretty much gone her entire life with you just being... Yeah.
And then and there were times when she was at the house in the summertime, and then I'd be gone for a few weeks. And I'm not saying I wasn't supposed to, but wasn't planned. So things happened. And I would come back and say, "Hey, what did you do, Dad? How was your..." And I was like, "Yeah, my business trip was good. It was always a business trip." And so she doesn't really know what I did. And so whereas now, as I told a lot of people, is I'm trying to reconnect back with my daughter. And that's why I write, is right for her.
Well, we'll transition to that. But before we wrap this part up, there's a lot of experiences, a lot of really awful experiences you have while you're deployed. But then years later, you look back at it, and it's funny. You can't help but laugh at some things that happen under fire or under duress.
Yes.
Is there one particular moment like that sticks out for you?
I could do one in combat, which I've spoken about a lot, or I could do one when I was in Ecuador in school.
Your choice.
I'm going to go with that one, the one in Ecuador, because it's one. Like people, there's a lot of combat ones, I'm sure. This one has not had to do anything with combat. I actually ate yuca for the first time.
Oh, it's good. Okay. I love it.
I love yuca.
I do too.
Yeah, and I eat it today, but when I was down there, it wasn't digesting properly. Right. And so I got back, and I was trying to get to sleep. It wasn't working. I could see my stomach. Like my stomach was like, I was like, man, what the hell's going on? And I tried to go to the bathroom. I kind of pulled the trigger to get it all out. Wasn't working. I was sweating. I was like, man, this is not good. So I'm trying to sleep. And then finally, like, I don't know, 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, I shot up awake. I'm like, I run to the bathroom. I'm hurling all over, into the toilet and everything. My Spanish brother, I was living with a family. He's knocking on the door. It's all in Spanish. Like, hey, you okay? Oh, yeah, I'm fine. And I'm horking. And so he leaves, thank God. And then as I'm throwing up in the bathroom, I realize it's coming out the other end.
Mm-hmm.
And so can't make the transition. So I'm horking, and it's one end, the other end. And I'm just sitting there going, you got to be kidding me right now. This is ridiculous. And so once everything is kind of calmed down a bit, I was like looking around like, oh, God. So I was like, I obviously need to clean myself up. I go to the shower. So the interesting thing about the shower down there, so the water comes out, but at the top is the heater. So you flip a switch over the heater. But in my distress, I forgot that if you bring it all the way over, you get shocked. Yeah. So
yes, I know what you mean. Yep.
Right. So in my delirium, I forgot. So I brought it all the way over, shocked myself, fell on the floor, and then everything started again. As I'm like, so laying on the shower floor, like like you see in the movies, the guys just like sitting there, all curled up and everything. But it's just everything's coming out like
when it rains, it pours.
Yeah, so I was like, you got to be kidding me. So I, as any good, I was in the 82nd at the time. I was young. I was in my very early 20s. I was like, well, looking around, I was like, okay, it's pretty messy in here. I got to clean this up. So very quietly, around 3:30 in the morning, after it's all said and done, I finally rinsed off and everything. I got out there. Everybody's back asleep. Got a bunch of trash bags, threw everything away. Everything that was on, gone. And I literally, from top to bottom, bleached that entire bathroom. It was crystal clean when I was done with it.
They came in the morning like, man, this place is clean. Yeah. It sure is.
So, that was we talk about funny moments. Obviously, at the time, it was really, really, really crappy.
3:30.
Oh, there it is.
There it is. You like that little punny?
3:30 in the morning, cleaning up your yuca.
Yes, my mess.
Yeah, we'll go with yuca.
Cleaning up my mess, yeah. And then I had to take a test the next day. So I was sitting there taking a test. And I was like sheet white, just still sweating. And my teacher's like, you okay? I'm like, I'm fine. Let me just get this over with. Let me go back to my room. Go back to my house.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of combat stuff out there. It's a lot of funny. It's, when you think back on it. But as I look back on all that one, wouldn't say it's a highlight, but it is pretty funny.
Well, now.
Especially when I just remember when I hit this thing, I was like jolted. And it dropped me right away.
Straight drop.
And then because everything gets, I just remember just laying there in my own filth going, and just shaking from the aftermath going.
What series of choices led me to this moment?
I'm like, dang this yuca. I'm like, I'll never eat yuca again. As I'm just laying there, like water's coming down. I'm like, just laying there, thinking and I look back, think of all the movies that you guys, someone's curled up in for whatever reason. It was like curled up, like, oh my God.
Yep.
Yeah, that's. I remember that night. I was like, oh my, I can't believe that happened.
All right, now moving on, moving away from your own filth. When did you start writing? Is that something that you had always kind of done?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when I was a kid, I loved writing, loved it a lot, and in fact, I found an old yearbook that my brother and I were published in. I'm sorry, not a yearbook. It's called Panther Tales. So I was in. This was our Panthers were our mascot, and it was just a collection of stories that kids wrote. And my brother and I used to write a lot. We still write a lot, and that was a collection of it was poetry. And so we short stories, but we wrote poetry, so that was good. And then throughout my career, I wrote. Here's what you don't tell people, right? At my peak, where I was 235 pounds, I was a big dude. You don't tell people you write poetry. You just don't. You're a Baird trusted freedom fighter, right? You know the old joke there. You just don't tell other people that you write, but it just doesn't happen. You don't write poetry. You just don't, because they're just gonna look at you like, bro. So I was like, I'm a closet poet, not anymore, right? I'm a closet poet.
He's out.
Yeah, all right. I've come out now and let people know I'm a poet. But when my daughter got me this bear, I took a bunch of pictures with him. And then I started writing like haikus. I was like, yeah, haikus are fun. They're pretty easy, right? Da, 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 da. And it helps you focus your mind a little bit, especially in the few moments that you have that are very quiet and peaceful. And so I started writing about him, and then looking at all these other. And then when I got home, so I have a huge collection of haikus with Cool Bears. Who I actually wrote a children's book called The Adventures of Cool Bear, and the manuscript is done, and I'll get that published here at some point. And that was actually done right about the time this book was ready to go get published. But then I started inserting Cool Bear into my previous memories as if he's watching us do all these things. Just like a lot of folks went through a lot. I've got some TBI issues. I've had close to 20 pretty significant concussive events, which have been affecting me now more than previous. But I started writing about him and just him watching us through all these different deployments that I've been on, mainly in the combat zone. And it was very therapeutic, it was cathartic. It was pretty cool to write. And then I realized that some of them were not fit for children. Were not. It was, I wouldn't say too dark, but I think it was just, there was more context in some of those than I think it was for a children's book. So I pulled a lot of those out. Again, the haikus, and I just started writing more about them. And I would look at pictures or memories in my head, and then I would start writing about them. And so they turned into odes. And then this started in 2017, and my last ode that I finished was last year, 2025, when a buddy of mine that came in and grabbed me out of a building that was getting hit with mortar fire, which I was sleeping through for the first 2 hours, which was kind of crazy. But operations make you tired. And but and then weeks later, we were out on the border, and he was talking about the time when I saved him and a few others. And there's interesting. I'll tell you the story some other time. So he's telling us from my parents, and they're all looking at me, and I'm looking at them. They have no idea what I did. And so he's shedding tears. I was like, holy crap, I didn't realize it was like it really hit him that hard, because we never really talked about it. So I stand up and tell him about the story about him coming in and pulling me out, doing all this other stuff. And then I realized right then and there, so maybe I'll write about that. So I did. It's actually the longest ode in this, and it's 3 pages in this book. So I wrote about that, and as I'm rereading all of them, and it took a while to write, right? It's a lot of memories, it's a lot of, and it's all for my daughter, because again, she doesn't know what I did, but I want her to know that I was thinking about her every time I was out deployed in the dangerous zone, everything else. In those moments when I had, and those could be just brief seconds, brief moments, I would just think about it. I just remember one night, pretty violent night, and I remember looking to the west as the sun was breaking up over the ridgeline in the east. Looked to the west, it's just nothing but a swath of destruction, because from our previous night's combat operation. But then looking to the east, in this pristine snow, and everything else, like, oh my God, and I looked to the right, and I looked to the left, and then you just look right down the middle of the ridgeline, and in your periphery, you can see the sun coming up, and just pristine snow, forests, and everything else like that, untouched beauty. And off to the right is nothing but the destruction you caused.
Carnage. Right.
And I just thought about that, like, holy cow, like the difference between one side of the ridgeline and the other was amazing. And that's just started from there. Again, it triggered a lot of thoughts in my head for writing. Like, how can I tell my daughter about this scene? How can I tell her about this without really going into that night's operations, but really telling her about the inspiration, the beauty of what the next day, what your future can hold, even though it's something that maybe not combat related, but something very a crucible to your right, whatever it is. It could be as simple as like a bad decision, a small mistake, whatever it is. But there's always going to be a future with this bright light on the other side. And so for my daughter, V-Star, she is the shining light in my life. And then throughout this book is, how do I show her as a story arc when she's a young girl her dad's leaving to deploy, and then through the story, he's watching her grow from afar, and then when he comes home, she's 20. And so through this whole story, you see her grow and her dad doing all these different things, thinking about her shielding him. You know, she's shielding her dad with her light and guiding him home through all these different things. And not everything made the book. I have a companion guide that goes with it, which people, if you go on the website, people can look at it and download it for free. And it has like the lost haikus that talk about some of the odes behind some of those backstory behind some of these odes and everything else like that. So they jump on my website. They can grab that and they can see like the real story behind. I guess the real story, the backstory behind a lot of these. And this is all lived experience. This is everything. All the pictures are in there. Obviously, I generated them all, but everything's based on all my memories. And then old photos that I looked at and said, oh my God, I remember this, I remember that. My buddy Dave, who's been with me through a lot of my combat deployments, he's the guy on the front that wrote the acknowledgement. I remember him showing my first image that I created. He's like, I remember that mountain. That's Effer Mountain. Named by our Terp named it because he's like, I'm tired of going up this effing mountain. I'm tired of doing this. F this, F this, F this. He was just lighting it up the whole time. And when I wrote about it and I showed Dave the image, he's like, oh my God. And then when I showed him had him read the ode, he's like, I can't even, like, he got like halfway through. He's like, I can't read it. He's like, it's so much. It's so powerful.
Yeah.
And I've got the last one to my daughter, and they're ode to my daughter's light. And I had another friend of mine, Mustache Mike. When he listens to those, he knows who it is. We were in Starbucks here at the 82nd at the Starbucks in the mini mall.
Mini mall, yep.
And he's reading that, and I see his eyes start turning red. He's got tears coming out. I was like, dude, what are you trying to do? I was like, what do you mean? He's like, we're in Starbucks, man. I can't be.
Why are you doing this to me?
I can't be crying in Starbucks, dude.
This is not a secure man crying area,
right? Because he's a girl dad as well. So I didn't really think about publishing none of this. I just wanted to write for my daughter. I wanted her to let her know that throughout all my time away and everything else like that, as I'm reconnecting with her, building a much stronger relationship now that I'm home and kind of stable at home.
Yeah,
is that she was always with me every step of the way, and that is what I want her to know, is that no matter what I did, no matter where I was, she was like, her light shielded me and allowed me to come home back to her. So that's what this is about. So that's great. It's
beautiful.
Yeah, I never thought I would ever write a book about this. I thought I was just going to write a leadership book with my brother on like every other senior person that comes out and writes a leadership book.
There's not enough books on leadership.
Right, right.
Well, I think this will strike a chord with people, especially girl dads.
Yeah, girl dads are awesome.
Yeah. So you may not be able to talk about where you were and the things you did, but you can talk about the experiences you had.
Yes. Yeah, so I was in Afghanistan and Iraq quite a bit, and on the ground, and so those experiences, when I wrote the odes, although they're specifically to my daughter, they were broad enough for any parent, man, woman, any child, boy, girl. They could talk to their kids, especially if they were in a combat zone. You don't have to be even in a combat zone. Just the idea of thinking of your kids while you're doing your job, while you're away from your child, while you're away from doing all these things. Because as an adult, as parents, we do these things to make the lives better for our kids. At least that's the goal.
Yeah.
And sometimes you sacrifice that time with your children, even though we don't want to, especially in the military, right? Hey, you're going here, you're going there. And we don't really have that choice. Now, being retired, it's great. I have so much choices, I don't know what to do anymore. Like, oh my God, I got all these choices. I got blue in my hair now. See, it's fantastic. I don't know if you saw it, but I got blue in my hair.
Oh, we saw.
Yeah. And that, again, my daughter was like, even as she was growing, she wanted me to have blue in my hair. I was like, well, I can't do that while I'm in the Army. But
there we are.
One of my, finally got a good haircut that was not at the PX. And the young lady, so I was like, hey, I want to get some blue in my hair. So that's what I did. But yeah, so it was but this, like I said, when I wrote this, it wasn't for a book or anything. I said it was just to write it for my kiddo. And then I was talking to somebody about it, like, hey, you should put those together and let people know this is a pretty powerful collection of stuff. And so when I did the images and everything else it's an AI generation, but when you do that, it's like pages long of writing.
Yeah.
It's a lot. But I wanted to make them broad enough for people to see themselves, especially our veterans, to see themselves in those images and similar and like experiences, but maybe not the exact same. But then other people that don't even have military or either family members or whatever, just, how can you talk to your kids about, hey, I wasn't able to make X, Y, or Z because we were doing this. And yes, I was still thinking about you the entire time. How do you start that conversation? And that's why I wrote the book. That's why I would say write the book. That's why I put all my collections into a book to help out other people, just to talk to their kids like, hey, yes, you're with us every step of the way.
So what's the website?
WarriorDadStories.com.
Okay. We'll link that in the show notes.
Where did the warrior dad come from?
Oh, yeah. Funny story about that. I'm a warrior and a dad. It's super easy.
Oh.
But then I had somebody who will go unnamed ask me, why can't it just be warrior? Why does it have to be warrior dad? What if women want to read the book? I said, there are plenty of women who want to read the book. I've actually had plenty of women who've read the book and they want to buy it so they can talk to their kids. So why can't it just be warrior? I said, well, it's simple. I wrote the book. It is very simple. I wrote the book. I'm a warrior and a dad. There are plenty of books out there specifically to self-help for men and for women that are specific to them, and that's phenomenal. And I've read both. Right? It's okay. But at the end of the day, only one guy wrote this book. Only one guy wrote those poems, and that's me. And I'm a warrior and a dad. And for me, it was very easy to make that. And my wife, I call her. She's my warrior wife. So I've got this shirt on. I designed the shirt. The back is the same as there, and then there's they're all variants: warrior dad, warrior wife, warrior mom, warrior whatever, brother, son, daughter, sister, husband. Again, at the end of the day, it's just an opportunity for folks to talk to their kids, and maybe even just talk to each other, because not all, even for spouses and significant others, they may not know exactly what we did. But if you could tell them, especially when folks that are potentially struggling, like I struggled through my career from the TBI and feel things. When you hide it all, you do this, and eventually it comes so much like
it comes spilling out eventually.
Yeah, your armor breaks. The armor that you have breaks, and then how do you reforge yourself after that? So again, how do you have that discussion? How can you tell somebody about it? Again, this is one of the reasons why I put my collection together, so that people can read and say, oh, if I have my significant other or my family read it, then they can start. Hey, when you look at this poem right here, like for the ode to the fire, a silence before fire, is like, yeah, no stuffing. Like it was only one breath, one decision, one shot away, and I would not be here, but I am here today, and I want you to know, like even through all that, I was still thinking about you, through all the trials and tribulations, all the success, all the failures. But at the end of the day, still thinking of my family. And so how do you start that conversation? That's what I'm hoping folks will take out of the book, is just start a conversation about your experiences and share those experiences with others and make a connection.
So when does the book get released?
23 May, the hardcover comes out. I'm only doing the hardcover, not doing the softcover. The pre-orders for the ebook will be out in early April. So I think next week they come out. I'm working with my marketing team right now. I have a marketing team. It's kind of crazy. They've been amazing, which is good. They've been kind of kicking me in the pants to make sure I'm on schedule, doing everything else like that. So I'm very excited for them. They've been really good. So Jill and Jess have been phenomenal. And then even with the images, when you look at the straight ebook, the black and white, looks phenomenal. I looked at that. I'm like, oh my God. I thought it wouldn't look that great. But when I saw it, I'm like, oh my God. And so I was like, that looks pretty amazing. And obviously the digital format's good because they're digital pictures.
Yeah.
Where can people pick it up? Whether it's are you doing audiobook as well?
So I've been asked to do that. I might, and I'm thinking about doing it. I just don't know how that would work with just poetry and an illustration to go with it. How you would match those up. Yeah. I actually saw something on where was it? LinkedIn. There was something else. Someone asked a question on a writers forum, and there were a lot of folks that had piped up. Some were teasing the guy like, hey man, you can't do audiobook with illustration. How's that going to work? But then someone's like, oh no, if you just have a PDF that goes with it so they can see it while they're listening to it, kind of thing.
That's true. Yeah.
I think that's a good idea. I may do that. I just got to figure out, not at the time, it's just how I do that, either with a microphone, this, and everything else, and like another software for it.
You can hire Bill Shatner to do it for you.
Oh, there you go. That'd be awesome.
Okay, so the book. Yeah, where can people get it?
Okay, so Amazon for the pre-orders, and then what I'll do is I'll have a link onto my website, on the main page. I'll have the link on there. Right now, it's the book launch and the book signing. That's in Lawton, Oklahoma, 23 May and 25 May, respectively. And then I'm working on right now is book signings in the Omaha, Nebraska area. I'm going to be at Southern Pines Bookstore later today to do a summer hopefully a midsummer book signing out here. I'm working with AFES right now. I try to do some book signings throughout the different areas around the country. Maybe out to, if I can do it overseas, I'll do that. That'd be kind of neat. And I'm actually trying to get my book at the Army Museum. So I reached out to them and got contact with them. Sure. How do I do that? Like I said, the companion guide, if you want to get that, you just go to my website and then just click on companion guide, and it'll pop up. It's also on the front page, on the main page. So click on companion guide, and you'll get emailed to you. And then my award-winning poem is I have this thing called the Creative Forge. Click on that, and my award-winning poem is on there, plus some of my other works that I did while I was in Tampa for the Post-Deployment Rehabilitation and Evaluation Program for TBI. Yeah. So I was there for 10 weeks total, and I wrote a series of haikus for the team there. And it's I made a video out of it. That was a lot of fun. And then and I made I have some copies I handed out to them. So it was neat because they were amazing people down there. And then my teammate, I do want to say this to my teammate if you don't mind, my buddy Matt Filos, his retirement ceremony is today. After close to 30 years in the Army. In the Air Force. Oh my God, I can't believe I said Army. Sorry about that, Matt. So congratulations to you for your retirement today.
Congratulations.
Yes, it's amazing. So he was one of my teammates down there, and phenomenal group of guys that were down there with us, and I'm glad. I'm looking forward to hearing what he does in his retirement.
So the book comes out.
Yes.
People get it. Yes. They enjoy it. What's a good way for them to reach out to you and show their appreciation, give you some feedback, stuff like that?
Yeah, on my website as well, there's a contact. They can do that. Mm-hmm. And then I would always ask everybody, I have a newsletter that goes out every month. And the links at the bottom, if they can just share that, just to, like I say, join the nation, join the Warrior Dad Nation. And then just get the word out on their social media platforms and show the book.
Is it Warrior Dad on social media?
It's TJ_Warrior. For me, it's TJ_Warrior Dad. But it's my personal accounts. Yep. But when they get so if you get the newsletter, you can go on the bottom, just click on the link, and it goes to you share it to your specific platform. The newsletter and everything else like that. I have all my articles and other stuff that I have. I have a quote unquote a blog site. I host a leadership series. I guess I do host one. On LinkedIn, I have a leadership series there. Okay. Life's leadership lessons. I literally go out. A lot of it has to do with my dog, Macaroni. He does some crazy stuff, so I do all that. I talk about just regular life stuff and just the leadership lessons I learn in life from everyday life. I'll post photos or a video and I just make a very short. This is what I learned from it, right? I fell on my face on this one. I couldn't figure out why my shark robot wasn't cleaning. Probably wasn't getting all the debris out of the. From the system itself into the larger bin, and I found out there were a lot of filters, and I pulled one of them out. I was like, it was like, oof. There was like a year's worth of. I mean, it was like the filter's like this big, but there was like that much of dirt around it. And I was like, oh, this is why it's not working. So I talk about that. Hey, lessons learned.
Clean the filters.
Yes. Yeah. Right. Clean.
There's a metaphor in there somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Clean them and change them. But yeah, so it's been good. Like I said, for all those who are looking to retire out of the military or wherever, the grass is definitely greener on the other side. It is amazing.
You got to earn it. You got to earn it, though. You got to earn it.
You do got to earn it, but it's amazing.
So, if you could go back to 17-year-old you standing outside the recruiting station alone because your buddy decided to not show up.
Thank you, Aaron.
To all the cool stuff you were doing here at Bragg, Operation Laser Strike, and Haiti, and all this other stuff, to going on and spending 16 years
doing
good things for this man's army,
sleeping through mortar attacks.
That's right.
To the TBI issues, your family, missing them and them missing you, like you said, doing a high five in midair, to the writing and retirement. If you could go back to 17-year-old you standing outside the recruiting station, knowing all that would be ahead of you, would you do it all again?
Yeah. I would tell him not to change a thing. I say this for a reason. If I told 17-year-old me to change something, we would not be sitting here today. Maybe, right?
Right.
My life could be completely different. If I told him to go to college, I told him to do this, told him to do whatever it was, I would not be the person I am today, reforged into who I am today, literally reforged into who I am today. And I don't regret any of that. There are some decisions I would maybe like to take back a little bit, and
Sure.
but I wouldn't tell him anything. I wouldn't say anything. I would just say, hey, just continue doing what you're doing. Never quit. That's the big one. Never quit. And 17-year-old me didn't have that in any way to quit, so I don't think that would have changed much. But yeah, just stay true to yourself is also a big one. But I would not I wouldn't have 17-year-old me change the decisions and everything else like that. No, I wouldn't do that. Because again, I wouldn't be sitting here today. But encouraging, yeah, never quit and stay true to yourself. And that has gotten me through quite a bit.
Well, I have one more question, and I'll turn
Sure.
it over to Raj. Assuming the book of poetry does well,
Yeah.
do you think that there's maybe a short story book coming out, like Cool Bear versus the Yucca?
Oh my God. So I've got Cool Bear Volume 1. There's multiple volumes of Cool Bear, so those will be coming out. My brother and I are writing a series together.
Of short stories?
Yes,
Okay.
but they're designed to fit in your pocket, and it's the Trophy Husband Survival Guide. So as I was going across country to go hunting with my cousin in Idaho, from East Coast all the way to West Coast, got to pass and see a bunch of friends, so taking a bunch of notes. So that's going to be one volume. There's going to be another one about either sporting, hunting, whatever it is, hiking in the mountains, whatever it is. We'll do that one. But there's like the overarching, the original, like the Kickstarter for it. We're doing that right now. My brother's taking the lead on that. My brother Derek is, and because I'm working with Cool Bear and with Warrior Dad, and like I said, we have written a lot together. He's written several articles specifically for the artillery community, and so we wanted to write something that was kind of like finding an airport for your dad, your husband, your grandfather, uncle, whatever it is, whatever your trophy husband is, right? Your trophy husband, right? You just pick it up and it's kind of you get your FAFO minutes, whatever it is, think you're in charge, but you're not kind of thing. And so all these things like toilet paper up, over, who cares kind of thing, all
the important things.
Right. So all the things that, what makes a trophy husband, and, you're going to sporting events for your kids, you're doing this, you're doing that. So that we're working on that together. And I would like to see at least the first one come out later this year. Maybe earlier next year, just depending on what's going on with it. Because my brother's going through his retirement phase right now so he's very busy getting ready to transition out of the Army. So that's been taking a lot of his time, rightfully so, because he's got to focus on that. But we do have the first chapters done. We're just refining them right now, and I'm just trying to figure out what the image is going to look like. Yeah, so there are some things that are coming out. And then one of the things I looked at too is if someone wants to share their story with me, and then if they're okay with me to turn it into a poem, I would do that. And I would make it a collection of, I would write the poem based off of someone's experiences in in life, military. It doesn't have to be in the military, but write something about it, collaborate with them, whatever it is, or just write something about it, and then have a collection, and then launch them out and say, hey, look, this is
cool.
I'll have to figure out what I would title it, but it'll be a collection of stories from other people, and I would just make an ode to whatever that situation was, and then do that. So that'd be kind of neat to do, right? So get other people's stories out there as well, because I know not everybody likes to write, or may tell themselves, hey, I'm not a writer, not this, but if I can help someone else tell their story through a different venue, a different lens, I would love to do that. So I was thinking about doing that. Yeah, I don't know how to do that. I mean, someone would have to share their stories with
shooting
me.
from the hip, right?
Yeah. I mean, because you got this, when you read this is my life. So I was actually talking to somebody yesterday. I'm very nervous about bringing this out. I'm very excited at the same time, because when you read this, you're going to know not saying what I did, but what I experienced and everything else. Yeah. This is literally my life.
In here.
Yeah, talking to my daughter.
Yeah.
And I teased my buddy Mustache Mike, right? He was shedding tears and everything else like that. I remember writing some of these, what is all this water coming from? And I had to stop writing.
My face is leaking.
Right. And so even when I was typing, even when I wrote it and then I was typing it out, I'm like, God, I can't even finish some of these. even though I can see them on my paper and everything else like that. And so even for me, it was very powerful. So now I'm going to show the world my life.
Yeah.
And so I'm nervous about that. Like I'm pretty freaking, I was like, and I'm even now like, do I want to do this? Do I want to do the book launch? I'm getting ready to get 1,000 books printed up so I can take it to the book launch. Do I want to do this? Are the people going to show up to even care? So again, all that stuff's like, now it's starting to come.
You don't know till you try.
Right. So take a leap of faith.
Yeah.
And so I transformed my life coming out of the military. My goal was, when I retired, right? Don't want to do a contract gig. Don't want to work for the government. I want to do something completely different. So I literally now I'm not just an author for pick a random leadership book. I'm actually doing something that I refound my passion years ago, but now I'm really passionate about how do I tell my story through, I'd say odes, poems, but how do I tell my story through that others can recognize and be able to share with others? And that's, for me, is key.
Dan, he didn't want to do something lame like starting a podcast with his buddy. How cliche. Okay.
That's funny because my brother wants to do that when we get out too.
Nice. So, as a fellow trophy husband, I certainly understand your position, but I never had a cool nickname like the Shermanator. I
did have a nickname called, oh my God. Yes, the Shermanator. Thank you for that.
We'll leave that one as a little Easter egg. People can try to figure that one out.
Oh my God, yes. Thank you, Chris, for that. And then thank you, Chris, and the entire platoon for that one. I really appreciate that.
So, we can't thank you enough for coming on with us today.
This has been fantastic.
Thanks. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Y'all have been awesome.
So what'd you think?
Fascinating, really amazing guy. I love the warrior poet concept. He talked about it towards the end, how, if writing stuff like this, you just don't talk about it because people make fun of you. But the concept of a bard or a warrior poet is very ancient indeed.
It is. And I mean, you're in a very special unit.
Yeah.
You have a lot of unique skill sets.
Of course.
Would somebody really say something? I mean, really? Would somebody say something?
I think at some point you have enough street cred where if you tell people like, hey, I'm really into writing poetry or, crochet or whatever.
Crochet might be a bridge too far.
Okay. Too much. Needlepoint. I think, especially when you're as seasoned of a combat veteran as somebody like him, or, even us, frankly, you are secure enough in your manhood or womanhood where you can share these things with people and it's going to be okay.
Yeah. I do appreciate that he didn't labor the bookstores with another leadership book.
Leadership book. There's nothing wrong. Not that there's anything wrong with
Not that there's anything wrong with that. But yes, I like that he went into a different route. And I like the purpose behind it.
Yeah.
But was there something about his experiences that he talked about that really stuck out to you?
It's funny. I was kind of giggling to myself. You couldn't see me on camera, but when he went from the unit to USASOC, and obviously he spent the early part of his career in the 82nd, but he considered that going back to the quote big army, which makes me laugh because when you're in USASOC for a long period of time, you look at the rest of the army as the big army, but coming from the unit, I guess everything's all about perspective.
It is indeed. It is indeed.
Because it can be very jarring being in, I was in USASOC for a very long time, and then I found myself in 2nd Infantry Division doing, staff weenie stuff, but that's the big army.
He had some really cool experiences, man. He came in at a good time. It was post Desert Storm.
Yep. After Somalia.
Yeah, but there was a bunch of stuff still going on around the world. It was just I don't want to call them minor conflicts, but compared to a 20-year war on terror, they were minor conflicts.
Yeah, after Desert Storm, and then we had the unpleasantness of Somalia shortly after, and then it was relatively quiet, like you said, until really the Balkans started warming.
Yeah, but Haiti, some of the stuff going on in South America that we weren't fully invested in, I guess, might be a good way to put it.
That's fair.
But there was still a lot of things going on. People forget that the FARC was a really big deal.
It was a very big deal.
For a long time.
In Colombia, yeah.
But he had some really cool experiences, man. Except for the failed trip to Panama.
Yeah.
Sorry, TJ.
Sorry.
But he did, man. And I liked because he talked about how he was always wanting to challenge himself and push himself through his limits and stuff. Yeah. And that he continued to do that, like, all along the way. It was like one more step. Very cool. Very cool. And I can't remember if we talked about it on camera or during one of the breaks. But you think you know what your limit is.
Yeah.
But you really don't.
Correct.
Yeah. It's very true.
Really,
you never know how hard you can push yourself.
Yeah.
Until you're pushing yourself. Yeah.
Another really good lesson, and I used to counsel some of my subordinates on things like this. Whether you know it or not, whether you're in a conventional unit or an unconventional special operations unit, you're always being evaluated.
Mm-hmm.
And he was being evaluated and he didn't even know it, which landed him in some interviews that he didn't know were interviews.
Because he was just at lunch.
Right. So the point is, do your job, do it well, be the best you can be within reason. Don't burn bridges, be a good team player. You never know who's watching and what doors can be opened to you because of that.
It's very true. It's very true. And it certainly worked out well for him.
Yeah.
Now, back to the book. I liked the way that he put it, because there is so much about his career that he can't talk about.
Right.
Obviously, almost a 20-year period, and that time in his life was a lot was going on in his personal life. It was his daughter was growing up. He got divorced. He had a lot going on that he can't really tell people about.
Right.
So, what is a good way to relate to his child some of the things that he went through and her importance in his life?
Right.
Without giving away, Daddy wasn't there because he was off doing, XYZ, right?
Yeah.
You may not be able to relate the time and place and the people that are involved, but you can relate what you were going through,
right?
What you were experiencing, and I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's well said.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the book.
Likewise.
I'm actually also looking forward to the children's book, Cool Bear versus the Yucca.
That's right. And as a fellow trophy husband, I'm looking forward to the follow-on short stories.
Yeah. The Trophy Husband's Pocket Guide.
That's right.
Yeah. That's really cool that he got his family involved, because his brother's working on it with him, and I think he said his cousin also.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty cool to make it sort of a family endeavor.
Well, he's staying busy.
It's certainly doing that.
We'll definitely be in touch. So thank you, TJ.
Thank you very much. It was great having you.
All right. It's that time. Welcome to the free fire area.
Dun, dun, dun.
We actually, he mentioned a free fire area once in the episode.
He did. Yeah.
This one will be far more hostile.
Oh. What have you?
I'm joking. Do you consider yourself more of a mountain or a beach person for the purposes of recreation, or if even someday were you to move and live there? Mountains or beach?
Oh, it's got to be mountains. Well, for recreation, I guess. But for recreation purposes, I guess both. Because, if you're doing it for recreation, you're not doing it for an extended period of time. The beach is nice for a few days, and beaches have sand, not rocks. Crazy New Englanders.
That's true.
The beach can be fun for a few days, but I love it in the mountains. It's beautiful. The weather is generally much better. I like the vistas, shall we say?
Yeah.
I like them more. But I could just live there. I couldn't like live on the beach.
Yeah.
No. But but I could definitely live. I could definitely live in the mountains, where the only way to get to my house is by ski lift or helicopter, to deter people from coming to visit me that I didn't want to visit me. Yeah, I could certainly do that. Yeah. The beach, there's just so much that goes on with that. People flood to the beach. And the weather, the people that build their houses their beach houses on stilts, knowing that hurricanes are coming. Like,
That's going to be a no for me, dog.
Yeah.
Do you plan on creating a mine and digging too greedily and too deep and unearthing some kind of ancient terror?
Well, I mean, if you're going to build, or if you're going to go through the effort of building a mine, then you have to. It's almost an obligation to dig it too deep, to unleash some long lost horror,
an unholy terror from another age.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's an obligation.
It is. I mean, if you're going to go through the trouble of mining, then yeah, do it right.
Fair enough.
Do it right. Find the Balrog.
Find the Balrog. That's going to be the name of this episode. Dan finds his Balrog. Okay.
What about you?
I mean, I'm more or less in line with you. I consider myself a mountain guy. This has caused a rift in my marriage where she is a beach bum. It would be perfectly happy on a hot, sandy beach, drinking a beverage with a little umbrella in it. I adore my wife, but sitting on a hot, sandy beach sounds like torture to me. I don't know if I spent too much time in hot, sandy places. That is not vacation to me.
That may have something to do with it. But, given that about half of our annual trips have been between the mountains and the beach, us being in the mountains has never stopped you from a sweet, fruity drink with an umbrella in it.
It's true.
Yeah.
You've exposed me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a mountain guy. I think it's more aesthetically pleasing. I like the crisper, cooler air, and obviously, depending on where you are on the time of year, that could vary. But generally speaking, I haven't been skiing in as long as I can remember. But growing up in Colorado, that was a huge part of my formative memories in my childhood is skiing, and I think the recreation is better. And the Balrog thing.
If you're going to mine deep. I'm not one for skiing or snowboarding for that matter. I have done it before. Never well. Never in any way, shape, or form have I skied or snowboarded well. It always ends up being like a helicopter with my feet above my head, like spinning around.
I thought you were going to say a helicopter getting you to the nearest hospital as quickly as possible.
Oh no! But I mean, I'm definitely a fan of the ski lodges with the giant fire and the hot cocoa.
And the snow bunnies?
Aesthetically pleasing.
Yes, fair enough. Okay.
Certainly.
We're easy to find on all the social media. Please give us a like, share, subscribe. We have this in video and audio form if you don't already know that. Please give us a good rating.
Yep. A review, a thumbs up, a like, a share, subscribe, all that stuff. And if you're interested in TJ's book, by all means, check it out. And then, of course, if you enjoy it, then give him some feedback.
Yeah, give him some
Encourage him to write further.
We're trying to encourage veterans to be creative and help build and create things. And so how better to do that than to support them? So
that's right.
Please. And remember, your service matters.
You just prefer TJ?
Oh, yeah.
Scottish.
Yeah. That's right. Border King. Dominus Fecit, Lord Maid.
We're a little disappointed you didn't arrive in a kilt, but we can talk about that on.
A little disappointed.
I know. I was being modest. All right, Dan, bring us in.
All right. Scene. Well, that's a good way to start. Just laughing directly into the microphone. TJ, how are you?